Because you've got powerful legs. How did you get the physique? Was it gym or how did you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome everybody to the 573rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse. You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts, and you can find us live on YouTube every Sunday. I believe 8 o'clock in the UK. It's 3 Eastern time. It's 12 Pacific. God knows what it is in Hawaii. It's lunchish or breakfastish. It was a long day yesterday. I turned on the TV about 10 o'clock, and I think I shut it off at about 10:30 at night, running boxing straight through. But my word, what a day of boxing it was. You know, a few years ago, Tyson Fury opined, "There is no man born from his mother's cunt who can beat the Gypsy King." Well, Mr. Patterson, I guess that means Alexander Usyk must have been a C-section.
Yeah, mate, came up through the sunroof, didn't he? I agree with you. It was a great night of boxing. Just great that this, a fight that we've all been waiting for actually delivered. There was a fight. I kind of like, certain quarters, like, obviously the early half of the fight, you felt that Usyk was just on the front foot pushing Fury back. It was, you think to yourself, really, you'd be expecting Fury to impose himself. But as obviously we got into the kind of past the fourth round, like Fury starts then landing the body shots, you think, right, okay, maybe a wee bit of momentum change here. But as it kind of gradually wore on, mate, I think that's what really stands out at this level, mate, when you get two elite fighters at that level, mate. But it was just the momentum change from Fury in the middle half, and then for Usyk just to up the levels a little bit differently, up his pace again, just up and down body shots, taking the shot up top, but definitely without doubt that left hand that broke Fury's nose. Like it was at round 8, I think it was. Certainly was a turning point to fight, it backing Fury off, and obviously the big moment, obviously it basically is a big moment of the fight is the knockdown in the 9th round. But a lot of kind of talk on about actually that as well. I was saying to Des was before we kind of came on there, and I thought punch had obviously landed the middle part of that ring. Fury's on the deck there without doubt in my mind. It would have been interesting to see how he'd managed to get up. I would think he would have got up, but considering how he was swaying over the ring just before he did eventually get counted, it would have been interesting to see what he'd been like if he got up on his feet. Actually, I think he'd have been swaying a wee bit as well, but he'd done well to kind of hang in there as well. You got to give it to Fury in that as well. Broken nose, badly hurt, swaying, somehow seen it out to the end, and even had his moment again for clowning. I dare say, I think there was moments in the fight that he could have done without the clowning a little bit. Obviously, trying to kind of like bait Usyk into him in the corner a little bit there. Usyk's just too wise to that. He steps off him. It was there's just so much to break down. So I don't want to hog. There's a lot of guys here in that as well. Want to mention about the fight and that as well. So I'll bring everybody in that as well, mate, just to we can maybe bounce off each other and that. There's just so much to dissect in this fight and that as well, because as I says, it was a fight of basically like 3/3 really. You've got the first 4 rounds, you've got round 5 to about round 7 and 8, and then you got 9 through 12 and that, because it was just there's just so much to unpack in that in those sections of the fight. But for me, the Fury moments in the middle half of that fight and then the takeover by Usyk was just phenomenal, and that's what you want to see at that level. And that I'm glad it delivered. I thought the scorecards were a bit off. I think Usyk was like a 115 type scorecard for me.
Same. Do you know, all 3 judges gave Fury the last round, Andy?
Did they?
They did. No bullshit. All 3.
I'd looked into when the judge gave it to Fury. Is it Metcalf?
Craig Metcalf.
Aye,
WBC judge on it.
I was going to say, I've looked. I say he's done a lot of WBC title fights in the last so many years and that. So, and then obviously you got Uncle Mo sitting there, standing there looking all crestfallen and that as well, which was glorious to see. But look, it's a great fight. I didn't want to take nothing away from any of these guys. That they both stepped up. Fantastic to see. It was a great fight. Let everybody else come in that. But what we'll say, just like briefly saying, is we're talking about a rematch in October. I'll pump the brakes a little bit. I mean, it took us so long to get the first fight, so I wouldn't know if it was so quick to see a rematch after this length of time and back. But anyway, great fight, Matty. I'll let you guys hand it over.
Yeah, and it's great to have a fantastic panel here with us today. We have Des, we have Dominic, we also have Mr. Donnie Baseball joining us, and we know it had to be a big event for Donnie Baseball to leave that office that he spends so much time in and participate in the shenanigans with the boys. What I loved about this fight, gentlemen, was the fact that there were ebbs and flows, there were changes. Somebody hit the canvas. It had basically every component that I want for a great fight, maybe sans a conclusive knockout at the end, like there was in Wilder Fury 3. But I was really worried for Usyk there for a second when Fury seemed to be coming on real hard, 5, 6, 7, whipping in some body shots. He started to find the uppercut, and that was really telling. As he was catching Usyk, as he was trying to lean in, catch the body a little bit. But then 8th round, it started turning. My word, that left hand he landed in the 9th was something else. Des, I'll tell you what, one thing, and I wish I would have written this down in my notes. I want to give credit, Des, to the referee, because I know some people might disagree with what he did in the 9th round, but that is exactly how I like to see a referee handle it. That's exactly why the held up by the ropes rule exists. I think it was perfect. That I would show that as tape in training referees and not to jump in too soon, because Fury made it the last 3 rounds, without getting hugely staggered or you're frightened, worried for him. It was the right play, I think, Des, and it kept a good fight moving.
And only what Fury deserves, because he's shown us throughout his whole career, he's one of the toughest men in boxing. He has amazing powers of recovery, and this is for undisputed. So the referee, I couldn't agree more. That's the referee's job. He read that fight perfectly well. Fury could continue, but you also have to know the history of Tyson Fury, and he was allowed to have that type of leniency. He was allowed to be given that chance, I think, don't you?
I think it's real tough on a line to walk for the referees, because I don't want them watching fights and getting favorites so much, becoming that big of a fan, I guess. But I do want them to have some awareness of the fighter, how they react and things like that. If something's even uncommon too, a guy that has a normally sturdy chin and is getting knocked around by every shot, if you know that, you might know that something's wrong and you could eventually avert a tragedy.
I'll go back probably, I don't know, I go back years and years, and I watched Johnny Nelson beat Cole Thompson because the referee didn't understand the fighter Cole Thompson was, and he played it down the line by the book. But if he'd have known Cole Thompson, if he'd understood the way Cole Thompson fights, the way he gives away the first half dozen rounds, then we probably would have had a complete different result in that fight, and perhaps Johnny Wilson wouldn't have had the stellar career he had. And if you go forward from that fight, the referee allowed Cole Thompson latitude in the first three rounds against David Haye, and that springboarded Cole Thompson to another important chapter in his career. So I couldn't agree more. Referees have to know the fighter. They have to know what a fighter's made of. And that's why we get the Gattis and the Walls, because referees know when to step in, when to step out, when to break it, when to call it. Last night, the referee done a brilliant job.
He did do a brilliant job. Not probably as brilliant of a job as Usyk did. Well, let me give you a second to also play on just what he did in the ring and some of the things that you caught from your watchful eye that he was doing so well.
Now, I know you've got a busy night, and I know I want to hear what everyone's got to say, so I'll try and I'll bullet point it. What struck me was that Usyk can win a round small, but Tyson had to win rounds big. So for Usyk to win a round, he could pinch it. And I saw him pinch round 1, 2, and 3. And I saw Fury adapt. And he won for me, he won rounds 4, 5, and 6. And I watched Tyson Fury in those rounds 4, 5, and 6. And he was boxing like a big man. He was holding the ring. He had his arms down. He was swinging. He was swaggering. He was everything you want from Tyson Fury. That's how Tyson Fury had to win rounds last night. The only down to that is I think that expended an awful lot of energy from Tyson Fury. And I think Tyson took round 7 off. I think he dropped it a level. And that allowed Usyk to make an adaptation and come back into it. And look, we could unpack this, and we could have 3 or 4 episodes of this fight because there was so much in it. And Andy's right. It was a fight of 3 thirds, and there was so much to it. For me, Usyk pinched the first 3. Tyson won the next 3 big, and I was concerned for Usyk at that point. I thought Tyson had a breather in round 7. Usyk got back into it, and I'm not quite sure if Tyson has got it in him anymore to change gears, go up, come down, and go back up again. I'm not quite sure his legs are like that. I don't think he's got that in him anymore. And I go back to what I've always said. I don't like the last 3.5, 4 years Tyson Fury's had. It doesn't prepare him for a fight like that. Not what we saw last night. Not against someone like an Alexander Usyk. Round 9 was massive, huge. Going into round 10, I said to Andy before we come on, typical of that region's mentality. Usyk didn't jump on him in round 10. He just kept him on the hook. Tyson had a breather, and I expected Tyson to turn it into a 2-round fight. He's got 11 and 12 to get this done now, but I don't think he could do it. I don't think he could pull the trigger. He couldn't get going again. He had a go. He tried, but Usyk by now was just far and away the stronger guy. I was disappointed with Fury's corner. We should talk about that in a bit. I thought it was a circus, and if that's what the corner looks like on fight night, I wonder what the camp was like. But last night, brilliant fight. Both guys deserve so much credit. Fury, one of the toughest men in boxing. Usyk, one of the most elite competitors in the sport, can hang in any era. Brilliant fight. Really, really pleased we got to see it.
One thing I noticed in that as well was Fury was standing on his lead foot, and it was just pinning Usyk in front of him just for like nanoseconds. But you're right about the 10th round. He didn't do much Fury in the 10th round. He just covered up mostly anyway. Just try to kind of ride those shots.
Had to get his legs back. Get his legs back.
He was in recovery.
Yeah, without doubt.
Well,
and sorry, Matty. I'm not gonna interrupt you, mate. But I was something I picked up in the corner, and maybe it's the echo chamber they all live in, and I didn't like the corner. At one point, Tyson had Andy Lee in one ear, his dad in the other ear, and Sugar in front of him saying, "Look at me, Tyson, look at me." And if that's what the corner looks like, what was the camp like on a day-to-day? Maybe Rehad's not a good fit for Fury because he's got his dad there and he's got too many voices there. I don't know. But I genuinely think that round 10 was a recovery moment. And I was waiting for someone to say to Tyson, turn this into the best 6 minutes you've ever had. Go and make it a 2-round fight. Instead, Andy Lee said to him, if you can get through these 2 rounds, you're undisputed champion. And I think that was the wrong information.
I agree.
Just very quickly, Matty, on what Des was saying about Riyadh there, I was saying to someone earlier that I don't think it's entirely coincidental that Tyson's best performances have happened in the US, where his father is barred from entry.
That's 100%, Dom.
His and we'll get to it later on in the show, obviously.
All
He's a
about Big
worthy
John.
nominee.
Let's talk about Big John. It's all about him.
Fighting, Mum.
He's a circus act, you know, and that's the problem with it. Like you kind of look at him, the way he acts, the way he reacts to things, his tendencies towards just unnecessary violence. Like he's one of those people that probably should have just stayed in jail. I think that's best for society. And you know, there's one thing that might have cost Tyson this fight outside of tactical stuff within the ring. It's probably his old man. And it's a shame that maybe Sugar Hill is going to have to fall on this sword, and that relationship might be over. Our dear leader, Mr. Wellings, mentioned that he thought it really reminded him of the way that John David Jackson was towards Kovalev towards the end. Like he was getting that paycheck, but he basically had enough of the bullshit.
John Fury bullies men half his size. Usyk bullies men twice his size. There's level to the game here, mate.
There's bullying, and then there's real men. Alexander Usyk is a real man.
Matty, last night looking at Sugar in that corner reminded me of when Manny was cornering Naz with Oscar Suarez, and you almost felt both guys. We're going through the motions here because it's a big one, but there shouldn't be more than one voice in this corner. And I think this will be the last time you see Sugar Hill and Tyson working together. And I think that's a shame.
Why's Manny Stewart putting up with that shit in a corner, by the way?
I think
and he did, though, didn't he?
It'd be very interesting to hear what Rob has to say about this if he managed to get on later. But I was just thinking, if you look at the person of John Fury, he crystallized perfectly the difference between the two fighters and one concept, discipline. Everything about Usyk is discipline. Everything about his team's discipline, whereas with Tyson and the father, the circus around it,
erratic.
It's erratic. It's unpredictable, and it was all wrong for taking on a challenge of this nature.
On the back of the last 3 years, Dom. Sorry, mate. On the back of the last 3 years, Dom. Like when you look at what Usyk's done, he beat Joshua twice and Dubois he stopped him. What's Fury done in comparative to that? So when you look at that fight last night, Fury had 3 really big rounds, and then he looked gassed. I know he had the broken nose, and I know that makes things difficult. But on the back of the last 3.5, 4 years, can you really expect Fury to go into a fight of that magnitude at that pace and beat a fighter as good and as clinical as Alexander Usyk? Sorry to interrupt you, Matty, mate.
No, you're fine.
Mate was hitting the bong. Give him time to hit the bong now.
Yeah, you just didn't give me enough time. I just find myself incredibly surprised by what the remnants of the old Soviet system, coupled with whatever it is going on in Ukraine, is creating these tremendous fighters. It's basically, if you look at these fighters, and we'll obviously get into another one later, the ones from the 2012 Ukrainian Olympic team, I kind of look at it as
it's a late renaissance as well.
It's basically you take Vlad and Vitaly and what they did, what they spurred on with inspiring their fellow Ukrainians, and it's basically taking that old style that they had and adding that fluidity to it and everything like that. It's the second generation. And it's not to get into geopolitics. I hate to do this. I worry that we won't get a chance to see what that third generation of Ukrainian fighters might be because of what they're dealing with. That disappoints me, because if this was 2.0, 3.0 might have been absolutely off the freaking charts. I mean, Lomachenko and Usyk, I mean, they're incredible at what they are. Imagine a better version of them. It would have been stunning, absolutely stunning.
See, to be honest, mate, I think you're very fortunate, actually. I mean, you remember that American team back, it was 1980s? Or was it the 76 Olympics? The one in Canada, I forget which one. But the one that Ray Leonard was in.
78 and 84, Andy.
Was it? Right. So very fortunate, the amount of medals that they won, and then obviously those fighters turning pro and the success that those guys went on and had in that as well. I think it comes along in cycles. Britain had their turn as well, didn't they? They had Joshua, trying to remember. Luke Campbell, I think, was involved. I think a few of the women, Nicola Adams was possibly involved there as well. So yeah, these and then but that team that came along, that Ukrainian team was phenomenal. You know, you had Loma having a late surgery. You had, obviously, we'll get on to the other Ukrainian there, Baranchik, and then obviously
Bozdik was.
Bozdik. I was just going to mention him. Yeah,
it's really, I think, and we're going way off track here. But,
yeah, sorry, go back on track.
But I think the fact that Beterbiev like killed Vozdik's career for like 4 years after what Vozdik did to Stevenson, that 1-2 proves a whole lot about both of those fighters in their own way. I rate Vozdik very highly, and for some reason he hadn't a run into Beterbiev. I wonder what victories he might have had on top of that, because Stevenson was a beast at the time, and that was we need to go back. People don't watch
it's just
that
the mentality,
fight,
mate. It's just been, you know, that old school you're talking about. You know, just going back on the topic about that Ukrainian mob. At least that's just mentality with them. And as me and Des were talking there, I've mentioned it before numerous times. It's just that elite, different mentality. I mean, nothing seemed to phase them. They didn't seem to get overawed or certain things like that. And if they get beat, they get beat. They'll come again, possibly like Jade Kant. But it's almost like they're stoic, but they're not. You know, they're measured, they're calm, they're in control. But don't fucking test them either, man. Don't do a Johnny Fury, man. Don't get involved in that type of shit.
That's the truth. Kaiser Koba throwing 20 pounds in there. Thank you, sir. This is a great panel tonight for a great fight. Usyk is truly a boxer for all seasons. That is the truth, my friend. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. Donnie, you were alternating between watching the PGA Championship and watching this, and it was
it's playoffs, Matty.
It was an absolutely stunning fight, and I don't think that this fight, Donnie, quite gets to the level of Wilder Fury 3 as far as the greatest heavyweight fight I've seen in X, but I do think that this is right up there behind it. It's a fantastic fight. I think it's a candidate for fight of the year, in my opinion, based on skill and et cetera, et cetera. But I think what's interesting, really, Donnie, is the fact that, say they do fight again and Fury wins it, pulls it off, and then they have a trilogy, and that fight is, who cares where it goes? It's a good fight. Tyson Fury might have a chance to be involved in 2 modern heavyweight classic trilogies, and I think that's very cool, and I hope he chases that down.
Well, if you're going to make analogies to golf, I would say if you're talking fight of the year, this has to be the leader in the clubhouse. You know,
I don't know. Scotty Scheffler versus security is pretty rough too.
You know, I think that it's funny that, and also that you talked about Fury Wilder, because the funny thing about that was that a lot of boxing fans, including myself, went into that fight kind of resentful. Like, we had to see this fight. We wanted to see Fury Joshua, but you remember Wilder won that arbitration, and he won the right to fight Fury, and it almost felt like we were being deprived of the fight we really wanted.
Fucking lawyers.
Until they got in the ring and produced probably, like you said, probably the best heavyweight fight of our lifetimes. You know, oftentimes I think when the lights shine brightest, these big fights are a dud. You know, Canelo versus Mayweather, Manny Floyd, you know, weren't particularly exciting fights to write home about, even though they were spectacular events. But this is one of those rare occasions where, you know, we got the undisputed heavyweight title, 2 undefeated champions, you know, facing off, and this one really delivered, which was amazing. That being said, I knew right from the beginning, and I don't know if anyone else felt this way, I could tell right from the beginning that something was off about Fury. Maddie and I were texting, and he made fun of me the fact that I took my Fury bet off. He said that I was caught. He texted me, and I think it was round 6 or 7.
The very next round, after you said that, Fury just caught him so good with an uppercut, and it looked like he was just going to walk him. It really did.
Well, that was a quality shot. That was the one when Usyk kind of like backed off for about a good 30 seconds or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I, you know, he looked as if I was you know, a fool, but in fact I could just tell he was leaving that right hand down, and I knew that he would be open for the overhand left, and I kept on screaming at the TV. I'm like, why doesn't he throw the overhand left? And finally, you know, in the middle of rounds, he just started throwing it, and he found a home for that overhand left hand. And Fury never seemed to, even after he had gotten, you know, completely, you know, almost knocked out in the 9th round, he still kept his right hand down. I can't understand that. What I also can't understand is that, you know, Fury kind of oftentimes fights on the back foot where you think he'd be on the front foot, and vice versa. I don't understand how a guy with that kind of reach advantage and that kind of height advantage doesn't just fight tall, keep this fucking guy away from him, you know, and box himself and use his movement to cruise to an easy decision. Instead of, you know, being on the front foot and being aggressive with the jab, he backed up all night long. Why are you letting a guy with that kind of a size disadvantage back you up? I don't understand that.
Well, let me challenge you on this.
Well, wait, let me
We
finish.
saw Wilder do the same thing against Parker. Did they do this to each other, and they're afraid to come forward after battering each other for a total of you know, what was like 28 rounds or so?
I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe you could argue that the fight took a piece out of each guy. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I mean, we all know how brutal those fights were, but um, you know, he doesn't even know what, you know, going into the fight what Usyk's power was like. Obviously, he tasted it around 9, but I wouldn't have thought that that was the game plan. And you know, I mean, I think the difference here also too is age, because you know, everybody said when he went into the Wilder fight, like, oh geez, he's been virtually inactive for 3 years. He's not ready to step in with a guy like that. And you know, I know it was a draw. He probably should have gotten the win. But like, you know, it's different when you're younger like that. But now that he's older, you know, I think like Des said, having the kind of you know, resume that he's had over the last several years going into this fight, you know, you can't get away with murder anymore. You can't get away with that. You know, he needed
choice that Pereira faced in his career, and why he kind of switched up to more of a boxer puncher thing.
Yeah, but he needed better preparation for frankly what is the, you know, defining fight of his career for the undisputed heavyweight championship. And you know, be that as it may, he almost got it anyways. But I was fine with the scorecards. I thought that the final scorecard, the one that had Usyk winning by 1 point, was correct. That's how I had it. I'm also, in a way, glad that Usyk won, because I think that if Fury won, he would have probably started talking retirement. I don't know. Even though there's a rematch clause, you can't stop someone
Well,
from
now
retiring.
he's talking about not doing the rematch. Who fucking knows with him, man? He is so bipolar.
Well, I don't think he'll want to walk away like that. So, I mean, I think he's a champion, and I think he's going to want to go back and get out. He was really close to getting it.
I would have a hard time like walking away. Like, you got to think like he's got to be getting like a minimum of like $25 million. Like, I would have a hard time walking away based on that alone. I don't give a fuck about my pride at all. I can do a lot of stuff with $25 million.
You could. You absolutely could. And you know, one other thing that surprised me too was the way that Usyk didn't jump on him in the 10th round. I mean, it's like he had Fury probably, at least for being on his feet, probably the most out on his feet I've ever seen him in his career. Like, Wilder hits you, you go down, but like he had him really, really badly hurt. And
You got to be cautious with a guy like with levers like that, though, because you can land something kind of out of nowhere and shut your, you know, lights out, even with not being all the way there. That's yeah. I thought it was he was a pro. He was necessarily aggressive, not overly.
He had to come out and see where the guy was, but it's just like he, you know, I felt like he let him off the hook a little bit. I would have liked to see it end in a knockout, and quite frankly, you know, given the scorecards, I mean, Usyk could have easily gotten robbed. And I thought, I was surprised that he wasn't more cognizant of that, especially Fury being sort of the favorite and everything. But in general, it lived up to our expectations. I really hope we see the rematch in October, as it's been discussed. And you know, there's nothing more to say except this was a great heavyweight fight, and we're very lucky to have gotten this, you know, and Wilder Fury 3 in the span of a couple years. I mean, this has really been. I think that if you look over the last several years, you could kind of call this like a another great era of the heavyweight division, much like the 90s and the 70s.
Possibly so, and we'll kind of see how this round robin thing they're doing goes along with Zhang and Wilder. They mentioned Parker going in against who the heck was he? Oh, against the win against who'd been Kabayel. They were talking to him against the winner of Sanchez against Kabayel. And let's go to we'll go to that in a second. Tom, I want to get your thoughts on the fight, and it was I thought that with all the judges giving the last round to Usyk, I think they're trying to play a bit of a game there, but I had it 115, 112 for Fury myself. I thought about even after 4 rounds. Fury got the next 3, giving him 5 on the cards, and then Usyk just swept it from 8 through 12 for me. Where were you at?
I agree with that score, Matty. I was listening to an interview with Colin Hart, the respected UK boxing journalist, and he had said that either 115, 112 or 116, 111 would have been his score, and I sort of agreed with that. I think I had it at 115, 112, so that's about 7 rounds to 5 with the extra point for the stand and count in the 8th. But first thing I say was it was the fight itself was much better than I anticipated. I foresaw the fight being very could have been quite ugly and messy, but I was pleasantly surprised by just how dramatic and entertaining the fight was. And I agree, the point that's been made. The fight was a fight of sort of. The God said in one of his interviews last night, he said it was a fight of 2/3. I think he meant 3/3, but yeah, I had the first 3 rounds. I had Usyk about 2 rounds to 1 up after 3, and then I felt from rounds 4 to 7. I thought Fury really came into his own and was boxing superbly. He was really tormenting Usyk with the uppercut and the body shots, and I was communicating with Rob at that stage, and there was a big round 4 and round 5 for Fury, and he sort of continued that in 6 and 7, and at that stage, the momentum of the fight I felt was very firmly established, and I was sort of saying to Rob that if this continues, Usyk he's in real danger of being stopped. I wasn't saying a stoppage was imminent, but if it had continued the way it was going at that stage, I felt in rounds 9, 10, 11, you could very easily have envisaged Usyk either, the corner stopping it or something. Fury was really in a groove. He was in a rhythm that looked very hard to arrest. And I was saying to Steve after the fight, Steve, he was busy doing the live blog for his new employers, but I just said that in those middle rounds, Usyk. I felt he was in real danger, as I said, of being stopped if it continued. And it's one thing to keep your foot on the throat of an opponent that you're dominating or that you're getting the better of, as we saw Usyk doing in the AJ fights. But to turn the tide and to salvage what was looking like becoming a desperate situation in the middle of the fight, to me, that was the mark of all-time greatness. We know the examples, the famous examples that everyone knows. Ray Leonard against Tommy Hearns. Famous examples like that where a fight is sort of
Chavez against Taylor.
Yeah, the famous examples, and it's very rare that we see that. Very rare. And I just thought it revealed Usyk to be really a complete fighter. It's the toughness and the resilience, the heart that he showed to sort of weather that storm in the mid rounds. And I've heard a few people saying that Fury sort of took his foot off the pedal and sort of relinquished the winning position. That's not what happened. Usyk wrestled control of the fight back in the 8th round. After this 4 to 7, you had Fury in control. Round 8, Usyk he really he won that round, and then there was the big 9th round, and I felt after that Fury never recovered. At least he didn't recover sufficient to win any of the last 3 rounds, in my opinion.
I don't know if he had enough left in the tank.
Well, see, I was going to say, actually, one thing I'd actually noted, I forgot to mention, see, then he's noticing round 12 when Usyk's putting on the pressure, and Fury looks to hold, right? And then if you watch Usyk just there's a wee roll underneath Fury's long arms, and this shoulder checks him right off him.
I saw
Literally,
that.
did you see that? Literally, just he moved Fury like he was nothing.
He-
And I
he-
said
he-
this to you last week, by the way. That Roman Greco wrestling training that he's got came in, and it showed in the inside.
I
I
think
know
Fury might have
exactly.
came in too light,
I,
honestly.
I remember exactly. I remember exactly the instant you're talking about, Andy, and it really hit home with me as well. I remember it so clearly. He just shook him off with his shoulder, to stop him from holding. I felt, I was listening to an interview with Russ Anber earlier, and he was referencing the sort of the jibe that Fury had been leveling towards Usyk. He's a middleweight all these years. He's a middleweight. He's a middleweight. And Russ Amber said, ironically, that's what makes Usyk such a tough proposition for sort of these big heavyweights, because he fights at the pace of a middleweight, and that pace was insistent the whole way through the fight. He was pressing the action. He was on Fury all the time, and I thought, just while it's in my head, I thought David Hay, the one sort of decent bit of insight that he offered, I felt after the fight, he said in that ninth round, which was in many ways the fulcrum of the fight, he said if the roles were reversed and Fury had been battering Usyk from pillar to post, it's very hard to envisage the ref not stepping in at that point. I think the ref did the right thing. He let the fight. It's the undisputed heavyweight championship, and as Des said, Fury has earned that right to be given that latitude, given everything he's done, the recuperative powers that he's displayed in all these big fights. But I really do believe that if Usyk had been in that position, I think that the fight may well have been called off. It was Smoger-esque, as I said to someone, the referee at that stage, allowing 14, 15 unanswered blows in this division. And there's a side on angle that TNT Sports put out, and it shows you, it's how Fury, how he managed to get through that. I don't know, but what else have I written down here?
The
Yeah, I
bigger
mean,
guys do get the benefit of the doubt.
yeah, that's fair. The other thing, yeah, about the clowning and Fury sort of showboating, my interpretation of that, I don't know what anyone else thinks of this, but I felt that Fury sort of messing about and showboating, I read that as an attempt to sort of gain a bit of a breather and to interrupt the
He was
sort of
doing he was doing that side walk away with as well, wasn't he? And he was then trying to kind of like maybe like launch a sneaky fast uppercut underneath, or maybe
and with his hands on the ropes, like he was kind of winging those hooks off of there. Like I
just
thought it
gaming
was
it a little bit
bit
like Ali used to
tactical
do.
at
In that.
points. Yeah.
Definitely tactical, Matty. I thought it was, I think partly he does it and he did it actually. I don't know if you remember, he did it in the first round. He was doing a bit of showboating, and sometimes you look at it and it almost seems like it's an attempt by Fury to sort of relax himself.
Off.
Usyk was very smart the way he backed off. I felt it just shows how cute he is. How switched on Usyk is. But yeah, that's enough for me for a minute. I'll let the rest of the guys come in there.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of things to say. We covered a lot. Slaffy Gilmore's throwing 20 pounds in too. What a day! On the says on the Undisputed King of Real Talk Boxing podcast, we crown the Undisputed King of the heavyweight division, Alexander Usyk, the King of Kings. Boxing is back, baby. Woo! Yes, I agree. But it's interesting. People are really getting on board with these changes here. Let's see here. There was yeah, if you have, that's almost perfect because it blocks out at the bottom because I got in a different thing. Vada Testing even saying, thank you, Turkey Al-Sheikh, Queensberry Top Rank Boxing for supporting all fighters undergoing the most stringent PED testing at Ring of Fire, #clean sport. Even Vada appreciates the man. And if if that's not enough, we also have some people chiming in on that. So let's see here. Where's the other one? We got some boxing greats from 20 years ago.
Hey, it's the champ Antonio Tarver, man. I just wanted to come on here and give a video just, showing my appreciation and giving some acknowledgement to His Excellency Turkey Al-Sheikh. I'm going to go on record and say that he's the most interesting man in the world. And he's one of the biggest boxing fans we have today.
You know, I guess since the Dos Equis guy retired, I mean, fair enough.
You should have heard us 10 years ago, man. You would have met bigger boxing fans.
It was.
Yeah, I wonder if Khashoggi's family has a message for him.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, that super chat was blocking out where it got a little bit political in there. I figured that was more sensible, but I guess I mean there is that point to be made, but we've gone over that point a whole bunch of times, and now we're just watching fights. This was great. I would assume a rematch is going to be back in Saudi Arabia. Andy said a question came in. I think it was more of a comment, though, as I read it, from Dr. Boxing One. He says, if Fury takes a rematch, massive changes need to be made. First is John Fury needs to stay home. Second one, voice in the corner. And heat in Saudi isn't good for Tyson Fury. Like I said, I don't know that that's necessarily a question.
No, well, it's just interesting he brought up the heat comment, because I'd heard some rumblings and that we'll get on the undercard in a little bit, but apparently Joe Cordina was apparently struggling at the weight, and the rumours going about that he was out in a sweatsuit in the heat. No good. No, that's not good, especially like, you know, building up to the weigh-in. So
I don't think he needed the sweatsuit. He probably could have just ran.
See, to be honest, I don't think the heat would have been a major issue, to be fair. It's the same for both guys. But I think really the delay of the fight probably helped Tyson. I think if the fight had probably happened, but it was initially planned to happen, I think we might have got a stoppage here last night. I don't think Tyson was actually fit for the initial date. I think it was coming too soon off the back of the Ngannou fight. So, yeah, just something to think about as well.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of directions that they could potentially go for a rematch. As I think about it, I think if Fury changes trainers, that's going to be foolish. I think Sugar Hill's the right guy. I just think he needs to not be training in the UK, and he needs to keep his dad as far as hell from away from all of this. It's bad.
Here's one more irony of the fight, Matty. You know, all the speculation going into the fight was about Fury's cut. Usyk was the guy who actually got cut in the fight. It was one more thing that he had, one more bit of adversity sort of that he had to deal with. Just thought it was interesting. You know, Fury's cut didn't actually open up the way many anticipated it might.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting surprise. You know, his nose got busted, but he didn't cut. So fair play to that plastic surgeon. But speaking of adversity, to bring in that perspective on the fight, Rappin' Rob Kelly.
Evening, gents.
Yeah. You've experienced a lot of adversity. Why don't you speak on that? Tell me what you felt Usyk was able to get through last night.
Yeah, I thought it was a clear winner. I had it 116, 112, and I even scored round 2 a draw. But looking back at it, you could see probably maybe Usyk commanded that one as well. We were talking about keys to victory last week, and I fully expected Fury to win. I actually thought he might even get the stoppages last night, the closer the fight got. But Usyk has that thing, and I was really, really surprised that he was able to do it to Fury as early as round 1. You know, like where he goes up and down the levels. He's just herky-jerky all the time, and at the same time, he's just putting you where he wants you. So he's just controlling the real estate in the middle of the ring. And by the end of the first round, he had Fury navigated to the corner, and he kind of didn't let him. He kind of didn't let him get out of there. Fury didn't know what to make of him in terms of his fade, and his going up and down the levels, and he was slick, and he was dipping over to the side, throwing that left hook over. And it was catching Fury, and I wouldn't say he was buzzing him, but he was letting him know he was there. He was digging that body. And then the fight changed when Fury started going body snatching a little bit. Sugar Hill was fucking fuming in the corner at Fury letting him do that. Fury didn't stick the jab out at all to break the rhythm of Usyk until around the 4th round, and then he started to have some success. But it was like he wasn't confident putting the jab out. He was back to almost like the Ben Davison style, like not the Kronk style, like hold the ring, snap that jab out. He was kind of tentative with the jab. Now that's more to do with what Usyk was doing, I think, because he was just putting him where he wanted to. He was cutting the ring on him. So Fury was going to take a little walk. He was taking a little walk, and he was putting his chin down. He looked really awkward doing it, but every step he took, Usyk was on it. And you noticed last night as well, Fury went southpaw, I think, once for about 30 seconds because Usyk was just reading him like a book. He wasn't able to work that the way he is against other heavyweights. So, genius mind of Usyk, top preparation. you know, fucking adjustments as well. You got to give it to Usyk. Like he's
The
concussed.
touch that Double G's about him, mate. Triple G about him there last night. He was
he's stalking him.
mental pressure, stalking him, using the foot movement, not even throwing many punches. But when he threw, it was usually like on target. But it was just the movement. It was
all
something
day,
else.
and then getting around the sides, and then as well as that, like it was like a fight. It was like a highlight. I hate this fucking term of boxing because it's not like chess. Is it? You're not going to get fucking broke a jaw playing chess, so it's not really fucking like for like comparison. But it is a bit of a chess match because Usyk, Fury made an adjustment after round 4, and he started to break the rhythm of the feints from Usyk and started stopping him coming in a little bit. And then when he started to go on the
body were great too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he started making investments into the body, then Usyk started biting off feints. But I said to the lads at that stage, I thought I was in about 3 different fucking chats. I think I was talking to Dominic, I was talking to another casual mate of mine, and I was talking to the lads in the asylum. It's a lot of fucking work, this covering the boxing. But I expected Usyk to rally, but I didn't expect him to, at that point, take control of the fight again. I thought Fury had it, but I don't think Fury, I think Andy's onto something. I don't think even he's in good shape. I don't think he's super fit. I think his legs are gone a little bit. And Usyk, no matter what you say about him in the 2 fights against Anthony Joshua and in the fight against Fury, he's had moments of adversity that he's had to overcome, and he makes the adjustment. So he rallied back in round 8. I thought he took that round. Round 9 obviously was a clear round for Usyk. The 10-8 ref could have stopped. Like if the ref waved it off there, nobody would have any complaints because Fury was fucking gone. Like it was funny because I was standing up watching the TV and the TV's hanging on the wall, and when he clocked him on the left with the left hook, I was like directly in front of where Fury was. Like he was looking at me, but his eyes were like, "Oh shit, what the fuck happened there?" Like caught with a sleeper, and then like would have had no complaints. I think the ref gave him a chance based on his history of getting up off from knockdowns. I think that's what was going on more than like a sinister thing that he's like trying to save him because. You know, if he was going to take a count, if he was going to jump in and say the count, give him a count because the ropes held him up, you could have literally done that the first time. Like, so I think he was having a look at him and he was seeing it, but would have had no complaints if it was stopped then. But from then on, I thought Fury had the next round just getting his legs back under him, and then lost the kind of 10th and 11th. So he needed a big knockdown in the 12th round just to get something from the fight. I thought it was quite a fairly clear and concise victory for Usyk. People are up in arms today about the scorecards because some of the big Fury rounds are given as Usyk rounds on the judges and vice versa. And everyone's like, "Oh, this should be looked at." It's not going to be looked at. Like, what the fuck he's talking about? This is boxing. Nobody's going to look. Who's going to look at that? No, absolutely fucking nobody. So just be happy. I think that the right man won, and it was a decisive victory. And Fury didn't cover himself in glory after the fights, bringing up the Ukraine shit and all that. Like, but I have to say. Fucking Usyk he's on a fucking hot streak of concussing British fighters. He sent Bellew to the 5th dimension. He turned Anthony Joshua into a fucking political expert, and he sent Fury back in time because he said Happy New Year after the fucking thing, and it's fucking May.
Yeah, 5 months ago.
and they're making Andy work extra hours. It's fucking bullshit.
So it's not like he's a massive puncher, but he definitely has something about him. He's fucking concussing guys after they go in with him. I think it's the accuracy of the shots, but you kind of have to be fucking, especially with the. Like, we can be fickle here. We've all been big Fury fans over the year and rooted from at different times. So we've all been big Usyk fans here as well. I was one of the more skeptical ones when I saw him against Chisora. I was kind of more like along the lines of Frost. I just thought he was too small, but he's grown into the weight, and the 2 wins against Joshua.
Remember I told you the Cunningham comparison, mate?
Rob,
it did look like he didn't like fighting a small guy last night. I have to say that has come back. Like it's come to fruition since people have been saying that about. He looked very, very uncomfortable punching down, and just with all the movement Usyk was giving him, he didn't look like I think he's great if guys stand in front of him. But
Usyk watched that Cunningham fight for sure because he got Tyson looking for that left hand to the body,
overhand shots,
and took it over the top like Cunningham did with that right hand.
How clever was he, by the way? And how fit must Usyk be? Because in the first 3 rounds, Fury went to lean and grab on him about 3 different times, and he couldn't get hold of him. It was like a slippery eel. He couldn't get that big long reach around the back of his neck to pull him down. He only really started leaning on him around 4s.
When Fury tried to clinch him and hold him and put the weight down on him, Usyk seemed to sort of lean in at an angle. He sort of
to get out.
He sort of put his face sort of side on onto Fury's chest to stop him, to make himself hard to grapple onto. I thought it was very, very noticeable. But just a quick point you made about the Chisora fight, the Usyk Chisora fight. I was always of the opinion that Usyk was holding something back in that fight because he didn't want to scare off AJ from taking the Usyk fight. I thought Usyk wasn't showing his full hand, and I thought it was sort of from a Fury perspective. I felt it was quite telling in the build up to the fight, in the long build up to this fight, how Fury and everyone in the Fury business was kept referencing how supposedly well Chisora did against Usyk. The more I heard it, the more it was like they're trying to glean confidence from how supposedly well Usyk, Chisora did against him.
But there was moments where both of their vulnerabilities were exposed. Like everyone thought, like Fury was going to struggle maybe with the Usyk movement and the side to side, and then Usyk did fucking struggle with the body shots again. He did do that thing where he looks at the ref again. He's like, hold on, he's trying to sell it again a little bit. Like, so I think the thing about that is it's okay knowing that Usyk has that vulnerability to the body, but how many people now try to expose it and they can't get him out of there? He seems to be able to fucking get a second wind.
The bottom line is,
come back stronger.
Fury's on. He was weighed in 18 stone 10. He's a 19 stone man. Barry McGuigan always said, big shout out to Barry McGuigan, but you don't have to be, if you're that heavy, if you're 19 stone, all you have to do is turn your weight over properly. And if you're digging someone to the body and hitting them with uppercuts like that,
they're going to know about it.
They're going to know about it. I mean, you mentioned to me, Rob, when we were talking about the fight last night, in the mid rounds when Fury was having that great success with the uppercut, and you mentioned to me how surprising it was that in 24 rounds AJ failed to find the uppercut. And I think, the AJ, when you reflect on it, he was sort of bamboozled and sort of perplexed and sort of in awe of Usyk when he was standing in front of him. Fury doesn't suffer from that same sort of hang up. He's loose and he's languid. AJ has been a bit stiffer. So it's.
But even still, it took Fury 4 or 5 rounds to find his range, like with him. And that was what we talked about. Who has the quick start?
And he couldn't sustain
play it down the road. Yeah, and that's the other thing. He couldn't sustain it. He wasn't. I think the Usyk body shots in the first quarter of the fight stopped Fury from fully putting the foot on the gas around 6 and 7 and trying to take him out.
Steve made a very telling point to me after the fight last night. He said those straight lefts to the body that Usyk was throwing right from the get-go, those had an effect later in the fight. They weren't mentioned, but he was persistently, insistently stabbing that straight left to the solar plexus round the side. I think it had an effect.
I don't know where Fury goes from here. Like, I don't know where both go from here. There's an argument that Usyk retires now and he's up there. Like, he doesn't really have anything to prove. He's won the undisputed title. He's the best of his era. He's beaten Joshua twice and he's beaten Fury. Obviously, they're going to have a rematch because there's a big bag of Saudi money there. So neither of the two of them are going to walk away. I wonder, will there be some adjustments in the Fury corner? I think Fury and Sugar Hill are a good combination. I don't think Fury, Sugar Hill and John Fury are the greatest combination. There seemed to be a lot of conflicting instructions in the ring last night. Sugar Hill was actually giving good instructions. And while he was doing that, John Fury was going, double jab, left hook, right hand round the body, uppercut. He was fucking calling out about fucking 17 punches for him to remember as he went down. He wasn't even listening to him, was he?
It's like playing a game of Simon.
Yeah, he seems like, I don't know, like obviously but like John Fury, I think, has a lot more say than people understand in that camp, because when Ben Davis, when he had his poor performance against Otto Volley and he basically sacked fucking Ben Davison on BT Sport, didn't he, in the studio afterwards? He was like, something's wrong, that's not my son, he has to go, that trainer.
But do you know why I think he's there, Rob? Because I think Tyson looks at it and thinks, to quote the great saying by LBJ, which Matty might know, it's better to have someone inside the tent pissing out than outside the tent pissing in. I think
maybe so, yeah.
Tyson thinks if he's outside and he's talking to the media and he's sort of criticizing the camp from without, he just doesn't want to have to deal with that sort of stress in the build-up.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't think he's adding anything to the camp.
Yeah, my issue with this is you can have John Fury pissing about a fight week before, but you shouldn't have him nowhere near a corner. And that's professional work. That's serious work. And that's where one voice counts. And a fighter has to be completely focused and locked into his trainer. Last night, for a fight of this magnitude, any pro fight, I can't stand seeing a badly managed corner. But considering the magnitude of this fight, that corner was the worst I've ever seen for a fight of this magnitude.
Yeah, it did seem in total disarray, and it didn't help that
it did.
The Fury was struggling to make the adjustment by himself anyway, and then how is he going to listen to Sugar Hill with John Fury screaming in his ear? And there was another guy in there as well who was telling me only needed to win. I don't know who that was, but he was telling me, I think it might have been a cup man, telling me he needed 2 rounds to be undisputed. So maybe he thought he was up in the fight. Maybe like it's hard when you're looking at ringside. Maybe they thought like he didn't lose some of the early rounds and he had an advantage on the scorecards. But looked like from where I was that Usyk was winning the fight decisively, and Fury needed something big. And I don't know.
Panic breeds chaos, and you could hear it last night. You could hear it, and there was too many voices and people trying to say motivational things and things that weren't relevant. And at one point, I've said it earlier on, Sugar almost snapped him and said, "Tyson, look at me." And he stepped back and done a demonstration of what he wanted. That's a frustrated trainer trying to talk to his fighter.
Well, I'm surprised Sugar Hill is tolerating all that, to be honest with you, John Fury's. But when you're there for the check, I guess you know what I mean. Correct. Right, you have certain kind of stuff that you just have to take on the chin. Like, but I would be surprised at him at that. Like, he's a thorough boxing guy and he's a very serious character. He's not like he jokes and that in the interviews, but he is very dour. He's a very serious chap, like, and serious about his work. So I'm surprised that it manifested like that last night, and especially like I don't know. I've never seen. Obviously, a lot of Fury's fights have been in the States. John Fury's not allowed to go, so he hasn't been around. But that's the first time I've seen him in the mix like that, and it didn't look good. It didn't look good when they were chasing the fight on the scorecards and have him fucking calling out combinations.
Who was Fury's cut man? Actually, I've never seen that guy before.
No, me neither. That's why I think he was an American guy.
It was your old fella, Andy. You know the old fella. He's a veteran British cut man. I think he's from Lancashire. Des might know what his name is. He's an old fella. He's been around the scene for years.
Possibly. I've just kind of recall seeing him, mate, to be fair. Especially in fights of that size, eh?
Was it Frank Hopkins?
Yes, it was. Des, that's it.
Wait, who was the guy that told Fury, hey, if you can get through these last few rounds, you'll be champion?
Andy Lee, was it, no?
I mean...
Andy Lee said that, yeah.
Did he not say he needs the last round?
That is...
No, Andy, sorry, Donny, just to confirm what you said there so you can move on with your point. I heard Andy Lee, and I've got a lot of time for Andy. I like the family. But I heard Andy say to Tyson, if you win the next 2, you're undisputed. And that was misinformation.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, to me, when trainers say that to a fighter, that is criminal. I mean, that unless you're absolutely fucking sure in what you're saying when you say that, I mean, you should. I mean, let's contrast that with what Freddie Roach always used to say, which is whenever the hell it was even remotely close, he would say, "Hey, to be clear, you got to put him on his ass." In other words, go get a knockdown to really seal this fight out.
Calzaghe springs to mind as well, screaming at Calzaghe in the Hopkins fight. You're behind. You need to knock him out in the last 2 rounds.
That's always tell him you're behind, or always tell him it's close. Don't ever tell him all you got to do is stand up, because you're setting setting your fighter up for failure, unless it's really a case where like Taylor Chavez type thing, where all he did need to do was stay away because he had dominated him that much. But other than that, you're giving a fighter the wrong type of advice, I think, when you say that.
But I think to come in that into there, Donny, I'm going to defend Andy Lee to a degree because he's only ever shown himself to be an exemplary cornerman, exemplary, and him and Sugar have got a really good chemistry. And I think last night it was really unbalanced. And I'm not going to talk about John Fury or anybody else. I just think what we saw last night was too many cooks. And sometimes if you're one side of a fighter and you're hearing loads of misinformation, sometimes you can try and give the fighter some information that might balance it out. And that might not be how you normally work. But I think last night, we saw Andy Lee and Sugar in a funny situation we've never seen before. And last night, Sugar Hill looked like somebody that never had control of his corner. And Andy Lee looked like someone that was giving misinformation. And I've never seen that before. So I go back to what I said a moment ago. Panic breeds chaos. And I think that's what happened last night. And let's be clear. All them guys in that corner would have seen Tyson losing that fight. And they've never seen Tyson sit down in their stool, bashed up, having his ass handed to him the way he did have last night. So I think there was an awful lot of things going wrong in that corner, and probably we all just wanted one voice 1-inch set of instructions. But I think Andy Lee, Sugar Hill, they might have just been trying to get a bit of balance because there was so much chaos in that corner last night.
It's sad because I think Andy Lee was the one who introduced Tyson to Sugar Hill. He was the one who recommended Sugar Hill. He made the introduction, and sort of to see it sort of come under that sort of pressure last night and come apart at the seams a bit. It's a sort of
Dom, I've got no doubt, Dom, that Andy Lee and Sugar Hill have got a relationship. I've got no doubt about it. That they've got a chemistry. We've seen this.
They lived together for a long time.
Andy's been there since '96. I mean, they know each other, right? Last night, what we saw wasn't indicative of their work. It wasn't a true reflection of their relationship. But I go back to it. Panic breeds chaos, and there was so many new instances last night.
I saw a sort of short 30-second video clip after the fight of Usyk getting his hands wrapped by Russ Amber, and they sent Andy Lee in to watch the wrapping of the hands, and you can sort of it was sort of very disconcerting if you're from a Fury perspective how relaxed Usyk was, sort of minutes before a big fight. And I was looking at Andy very closely, and you can sometimes just tell a guy who's done what Andy Lee's done, the fights he's been in, and I was looking at him very, very closely. He knew this guy's he's a serious operator. Like, we have to be at our absolute best. And you can't help but feel they were almost handicapped the way and as you said, you made the point earlier, if that's what the corner was like, what was the preparation like?
Well, can I just come on that? Like, we're seeing things we've never seen in boxing. Like, we're seeing Sky Sports, the biggest sports broadcaster in this country, interviewing the nutritionist, and the nutritionist telling us he's the main man. He's the star of the show. Like, you can't get your head around this. You've got the dad who tell everyone that he's whipped Tyson into shape. Like, the corner is a reflection of the camp. And what you saw last night was probably how camp's gone.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
they're all clout chasing. They're all wanting their moment. They're all wanting to make a wee bit of dollars on the side, possibly, in that as well.
I just think I said in the when we were watching it live as well last night, I think I said regardless of the result, when Fury was getting back on top, I think he's finished. I think he's finished. I think 3 fights with Deontay Wilder where you got caught in all of them. I don't think you're going to be the same after it. Plus, he's like lost fucking 12 stone and he had 3 years out of the ring. He probably overachieved in those fights against Wilder coming back. But I think even in the Chisora fight, he obviously carried Chisora, and he could have stopped him at any time. But I just think he's looked at, since the 3rd Wilder fight, I think his feet are after slowing down a lot. And I think he's probably, I think the effects of those fucking knockdown, and this is not taking anything away from Usyk, because Usyk is the fucking man, and until somebody finds a way to take Usyk's, he's going to be the best of his era. The fight could go 50-50 in a rematch. Manny, it's funny actually that Sugar and Andy are involved.
So I was going to ask you actually, a rematch, if Fury's more aggressive for the off, no allowing Usyk to take centre ring, does it change up?
There's a way to win for Fury, isn't there? Like, he's identified a way to win.
It wasn't like he was out of the fight.
True.
That fight took a lot out of both men last night.
I think he's identified a way to win, but can he execute it? And I think Manny used to always say, to be the better fighter, 99 times out of 100, the better fighter is going to win the rematch. So I think Usyk looks like the better fighter, doesn't he?
Rob,
so I'd fancy Usyk in a rematch as well.
There is a way Tyson Fury can win this fight, and we saw it rounds 4, 5, 6, and maybe half a 7. But look at the energy expended from Tyson Fury. I don't think Tyson Fury's got more than 6 rounds fighting like that. So we saw it yesterday.
That was another remark Hill made, didn't he? He said, "See how long you can do it in the first 3 rounds," and that was like he was basically saying to him, it's going to come to a shootout at some stage. So did they know that he's not fit enough to continue at a pace like that?
It goes back to my point. We saw Fury last night, rounds 4, 5, and 6, putting it on Usyk, and he looked brilliant. But it gassed him out. He was spent. Now he couldn't get it back. So let's look back over the last 5 years. When have we seen Tyson Fury fight on the front foot? When have we seen Tyson Fury beat Alpha? Tyson Fury sits on the back foot and he looks for that left hook, right hand, 1, 2. But he's not a go-get-em type of fighter anymore. He hasn't got that type of tank. And we saw 3 rounds of it yesterday. And the argument could be it cost him for the second half of the fight. So if we're talking about a return and Fury's got to change tact and put it on Usyk, no. Usyk's the wrong man to put it on, and Fury's probably at the wrong stage of his life to put it on anyone.
Well, guys,
I think if he could have put it on him, he would have tried to do it earlier. Like, it came as kind of an incidental. It was incidental because he started to break the rhythm with the jab, and then he got some openings, but it wasn't like he was able to go out and put him away. Like, so yeah, I'd favour Usyk in the rematch. Will we see the rematch? Probably. I don't know. Like, is there going to be a change of trainer here along the way? Is there something? Is there going to be something else that delays the fight? I don't know. You never know until you see them in the ring. But until now, I think fucking less probably time spent wondering what's wrong with Tyson Fury is worth it, and more kind of admiration for Usyk. Like, he deserves his moment. He had to wait it out. He's fucking undisputed in 2 weight divisions. Never been beaten as a pro. Exemplary amateur, and seems like an all-round decent guy, like, Donny. So, and he's done the job on anything put in front of him. And he's done it all on the road. Yeah, and and he's done it all on the road. And Crawford and the likes of them are giving him finally his props. So,
well, guys, we do need to move on. We've been an hour and 10 minutes on this one fight, and there were some other things that happened. I hate to cut the flow because it was a great conversation. I didn't have to really do anything the last 20 minutes. I was just kind of sitting here pulling up boxing schedule stuff. That was fantastic between you guys. But we do have to move on the card. I want to thank Ray. This super chat's been sitting here for a while. He threw $11.99 in there. He said, "Had a monkey on Usyk, paying my dues. Keep it up, lads. Fantastic breakdowns." Thank you very much, Ray. We absolutely appreciate you very much for throwing that in there and being a part of the show here. Jaya Pataya went to another 12-round decision against Maris Bradis for the IBF title again, as well as the lineal, I believe, that he still possessed. Pataya, I thought he was controlling it very, very well early, and it seemed like if he wanted to step on the gas for a few moments, he might have been able to get Bradis out of there, but he just didn't. And I don't know if it's because just Bradis is a good puncher, he's tough, or if Pataya might just not have the greatest gas tank down the stretch. But he got out of there again. A couple of dicey moments, pretty wide decision. He can move on with his career. But I at the end of the day, Dominic, I'm real quick on this. I worry about his gas tank more than anything. Decent fight. I guess it was a little boring at times with Bradis turning it on late, but there's something not there for Pataya that I had missed prior.
I think he might be a bit vulnerable, Matty, I think if you look at the injuries he's had over the years, I think there might be some sort of fragility, some sort of vulnerability to picking up injuries. I think Andy was mentioning this, and I think just Bradis, one of the toughest guys that I've seen fighting in recent years, just didn't have the sharpness to really put it on Pataya the way he needed to. But yeah, it was especially down the straight, the last third of the fight. It was really brutal and savage. Two of the toughest guys about in the game at the minute. Pataya is talking about the winner of Riakporhe and Billum Smith, although he confused Riakporhe with Lawrence Okoli, I think, in his post-fight interview. Yeah, it didn't catch fire, the fight, the way I was sort of hoping it might do. But yeah, it's I think Bradis is probably the end for him. Too long out of the ring before this fight, and it sort of just caught up with him in the end.
Yeah, it was just a fairly disappointing one from Pataya there. We'll see where he goes from here. This is just kind of a blip on the radar. Andy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just briefly on Pataya, mate. I was just agreeing with what Dominic was going to say, actually, because I mentioned to the guys last night as well. As a bit concerning. I know he's hard as nails, Pataya, but it is a concern that he's now picking up a number of injuries, especially facial injuries, broken jaw. Bradis has put him in the hospital twice now. The fact they both put each other in the hospital now, so that's shaving years off his career. But as he's only had something like 20 odd fights, isn't he? taking a lot of punishment, and just those two alone. And Bredis is a big hitter. Remember the way he knocked out, was it Manachar with that one punch uppercut? That was a phenomenal knockout. So he has got that in his locker, and he's not the same fighter anymore, but he's clearly still got that ruggedness about him, clearly still game, still got that shot on him as well. So I thought a wee bit concerned. He won the fight, obviously, in that, and then he had obviously that wobbly moment late in the later half of the fight. But I just think there's a wee bit of concern. The injuries he's picking up, in terms of longevity and that, if it's going to be picking up facial problems constantly and that, then it is going to have an issue, especially if he goes up to heavyweight, which I don't think he should be venturing up there anytime soon, to be fair.
He was talking about doing bridgerweight first.
Well, obviously there's that.
I refuse to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I know, but mate, you're talking. I think basically the fighters you're talking at that level now at Bridgerweight, you're talking guys who have either been champions at cruiserweight and are now washed, or guys who are just not good enough for light heavyweight or cruiserweight, so they're trying to.
Well, Coley's going for a title there on Friday. We'll get into that.
What's that?
Yeah, Des. Yeah.
Worth remembering though, Bradis is a special fighter too, and Bradis gave Usyk, who we're glowing over, a split decision. And if it wasn't for Usyk, perhaps Bradis would have been the Usyk. He would have won that cruiserweight tournament, and he would have cleaned up that division, and perhaps he would have gone into the heavyweight division as the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. So I think it's probably not the right time to judge Opetaya on Bradis, because Bradis will always be a hard night's work. He's world class. But I think what we've got to do with Opetaya is find him 2 or 3 fights somewhere between where he's been boxing, which is area level. We've seen him over here, and someone like a Bradis who's still very good and still knows an awful lot. And I think once you get Opetaya somewhere just under a Bradis, I think you'll see a bit more from Opetaya, and it'll flatter him more. But I think Bradis is a very good fighter.
That's why I think there's the winner of Riakporhe and Billam Smith. I think that's the perfect fight for Opetaya.
Yeah, I think Opetaya. That's where Opetaya belongs, with that little lot. I think Bradis beats Billam Smith and Riakporhe. Bradis is a really good fighter, and if it wasn't for Usyk, if Usyk didn't exist, maybe Bradis would have been undisputed cruiserweight champion, because I can't see anyone else beating him at that time.
And if there's any weakness in your heart or your resilience, any flaw, Bradis is the sort of guy that's going to expose it, going to find it out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that was so. Yeah, we'll see if Bradis might have another good one in him. Opetaya, we'll see if he takes on the winner of Billam Smith and Riakporhe in a unification. Would be good to see that. Also on that card, in an upset on a card where there are many upsets, on a weekend where there was many upsets. Anthony Kakachi getting a TKO in the 8th round over Joe Cordina after what was a pretty brutal fight where he caught Cordina so many times. And I kind of thought on this one, Rob, that this fight was altered by the referee. And the way that he handled that 3rd round when Kakachi caught Cordina on the break, and Cordina was clearly hurt, needed a couple of minutes for a foul. Oh, sorry. I'll send this. Rob is gone. Let me send this over to Andy instead. And Andy, so he needed time to recover from that foul, but he just let Kakachi just pour it on Cordina in that 3rd round, hurt him badly, dropped him. How it went another 5 rounds, I don't know. It was, Cordina was hurt, multiple times in the fight, and that 8th round was pretty brutal. But I mean, a lot of people picked that upset. Kakachi was paying close to 5-1, but I thought the ref played a role in this one.
Well, first, I think Ozzy was saying last night, I think he'd, about a year ago, that actually even tweeted out that Kakachi he'd fancied him to beat Cordina, and by Christ, he went about it in, phenomenal fashion. That, I mean, he just subjected him to a massive beating.
It's the way he whips in the way kind of whips in the hooks with both hands. It just, Cordina just can't defend it.
I'm trying to remember, was it the 3rd or 2nd round? 2nd or 3rd round, I think it was. He landed a massive hook on Cordina, actually, that properly stunned him. Like, you can see Cordina that he went on basically like on a run, basically running about the ring, and I just tried to kind of get out of dodge. He was in all sorts of bother, mate. Really, once Kakachi started landing those heavy punches, he was in all sorts of bother. the other thing is, I'm trying to remember what happened with the referee again.
In the third round, he called the break, and Kakachi caught
Oh, that's
Cordina
right,
after the
aye.
break, and I mean he was
That's
visibly
right.
hurt on that. He should have given him time to recover.
Yeah, there was that as well.
I'm not
'cause
saying a
obvi-
point should have been deducted, but he deserved a little bit of recovery.
Yeah, I recall it now because obviously the knockdown came not long after that. Actually, and I think I recall was it Barry Jones was shouting about a recovery period and that, or it could have been called at that point. I mean, the first knockdown was brutal. Pretty much got face planted, didn't he? So yeah, it was phenomenal. It was it's the type of thing you love to see that as well. Carl Frampton absolutely losing his nut at ringside and that. Well, no ringside, press side, whatever side he was on in that, but. Phenomenal performance. That I wasn't really expecting to do either. To be fair, I thought Cardina would probably win it on points, but fair play to Kakachi, man. I mean, he's stepped up big time there. I think as well, he's excellently actually even did they pinpoint him out possibly as well. Try to remember. I think according to Frank Warren, anyway. I think he maybe mentioned it anyway. It doesn't matter, but anyway, fair play to Kakachi. That was a hell of a performance. And also as well, I just want to again I mentioned it in that as well. There was talk that possibly there was issues with Cardina's weight. How true that is, I don't know, but I'd heard rumours he was out with a sweatsuit and that as well. So it's never a good sign.
Yeah, well, and Des, I'll tell you what, that the fact that it was went on so long and he got hurt so many times, that's the kind of beating that takes years off of a fighter's career. That wasn't good for Cordina.
And over the last 6 months, maybe 8 months, there's been a cloud of uncertainty over Cordina, where his promotional future lies, and if he changes promoter, will he change trainer? And I looked at Cordina last night, and I'm not quite sure he was as focused and as switched on. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but Kakachi just looked so switched on. He was absolutely a man obsessed, and so was his team. And it looked like to me a good kid fighting a very, very intense kid. And a Cordina right now, last night, just didn't need a Kakachi in his life. I've got to say though, Kakachi fought brilliantly, and he was resilient. He dropped Cordina face first. Cordina tried to turn it around, then Kakachi turned it back around on him, and he had a country on his back. He was representing his town, and that's a kid I think that's really got something. I was really, really impressed with him last night. I thought he was stellar against a good kid in Cordina as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I mean, Cordina had a few moments in there where he landed some shots when Kakachi was just getting a little bit too confident too. And I was almost looking at it at the round before the stoppage, like, I don't know, because there's just a couple of shots that came in there.
Matty, that's what I liked, Matty, because Cordina had started to turn it back around. And I thought Kakachi could have his heart broken here. And I said to someone, that's as hard as it gets. When you drop someone face first, they get up and they win the next 2 rounds. But Kakachi managed to adapt and turn it back on him. So he's got an awful lot going for him, Kakachi. He's got a very strong mental mindset.
I was worried, I was
activity. That's the main thing now, eh?
Yeah, definitely, Andy. I think he needs to. He's 35 years old, and I just hope, he has been on the receiving end of some bad luck up until this point in his career, and I think Frampton mentioned it on TNT. There were sort of persistent sort of whispers around Kakachi that he may not always have applied himself the way he should have in the past, and I don't know. I'm in no position to comment on the veracity of that, but I think Frampton said that was the most punches he had ever seen Kakachi throw, and that was my worry heading into the fight. I worried that Kakachi didn't have the output and the volume to sort of overcome the sort of sharp counter punching that you saw from Cordina early doors. But like Des, I thought, I was talking to Steve during the fight, and I was worried that Kakachi had missed the boat after that third round, but he really sort of. I was very impressed with how he didn't let up, and how he sort of regained that sort of momentum that he had in the third round. Just on the point about the third round, and the referee, I'm not defending the referee. I don't think he's a great referee, but I I think Kakatsi had got to Cordina before that sort of controversial punch on the break. I think he had broken through, and I think Cordina. I think he's probably stayed at that weight too long, and it's come back to haunt him. But I would be surprised if he's maybe stays with Eddie and Matchroom after this. I think there's I don't think that relationship is destined to go on for much longer. But he may have done himself damage by staying at 130 for as long as he has. But Kakatsi, I hope he gets. I say he's 35. I hope he gets some big fights from now. Maybe he only has a couple of fights left, so I hope they're big ones for him. I thought his speech after the fight in the ring was fantastic. With a bit of character. He was sort of praising the Saudis and laying into Eddie and Matchroom for not giving him the Zelfa Barrett fight. So I thought it was a great speech, and yeah, it was great. Very just delighted for him actually. Great achievement for him.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to get himself into some more paydays at this point in time with a performance like that. You could be right. Cordina might not be able to make 130 pounds anymore. That's entirely possible, or at least not make it safely. But yeah, we'll see where those guys end up next. My guess is Saudi Arabia. Also on the card, and surprising us again, another upset on the card here. Ajit Kaviel just taking it to Frank Sanchez, staying in his face, cutting off the ring, landing hard to the body, eventually just making Sanchez have to take a knee basically from body shots and not getting up after two of those in the seventh round. Kaviel continues to impress, continues to do this as an underdog. Andy, I told one of the guys, I told Jason, I said, he was all about Sanchez winning this fight. And I said, man, I'm not going anywhere near that fight. I have no idea what's going to happen. And there you go. Kaviel beats the shit out of another highly touted heavyweight prospect or contender.
I was joking with the boys that Sanchez did the usual Cuban bail out the fight when it mattered most. But seriously, Kabayel, another one who activity levels has probably hampered him a little bit. But I was saying to you, some of the boys, and that as well, this is going to sound like a weird question to you guys, considering what Fury was doing there last time with some of his body shots. But is there a better heavyweight just now? Sorry, is there a better body puncher in the heavyweight division than Kabayel just now?
I couldn't think of one.
I think he's phenomenal, by the way.
I think he's fantastic. I'm really impressed by him. I was very impressed by him actually when he fought Chisora about a decade ago in Monaco, and then he sort of went completely off the radar. And I think there was all sorts of stories about what he was doing over in Germany. But I think the way he gets inside and works the body I think it's mustard. I think it was very. I don't know if you saw Andy, AJ, and Eddie were watching it very closely at ringside, and I was just saying to Steve, they might look at Kabayel and think he's safely flat-footed for them to take on, but I have to say, if Kabayel was able to get inside on AJ, I think he'd be an absolute nightmare for him.
Yeah, it's possible, mate. As I say, especially if he takes his chances and that. And as I say, with the heavyweights, you just need one chance, and if it lands, my God.
And he's tough. He's tough as well. He takes a very good shot as well.
Yeah.
Parker was there calling that fight on the feed that I was watching, and apparently they're talking about Parker against the winner of that fight. So that being Kabayel, I think that's a very
decent scrap, actually.
Yeah, I do, and it's
very good scrap because Parker's a tough guy.
Yeah, he is, and he can fight a bit off the back foot too. But I don't know, Des. I'm a little bit torn on how I think that fight goes. It's just another one of those as far as like betting it, like unless like someone like comes out like a substantial underdog, seeing it basically as a 50-50 fight, I'm staying away from it.
Yeah, I said last week, Cabell's never let me down. He's like the dripping tap. He just doesn't. It's just constant. Not every punch has got to hurt you. He works angles. He goes about his business. He doesn't look for nothing early. I think to beat Caballero, you have to have a very good ring IQ. I don't think an AJ, I don't think Joe Joyce, I don't think a Daniel Dubois should go anywhere near Caballero, purely because he's teak tough. He holds a shot. and he's constant with his work, and he really knows how to find angles. He knows how to hit the spots. I think he's a very good fighter, Caballero. He's one to watch. Maybe an Usyk or a Fury's a step too far for him, but I think anybody else under that group is fair game for Caballero.
Yeah, he's just I think honestly that that Rob, I think Caballero kind of has underrated footwork. Like yeah, they were mentioning this that Sanchez had a brace on his knee, and that's definitely affects the way that he would want to fight this way. But Rob, Caballero's he's fantastic at cutting off the ring, and he is very rarely not in a place where he can touch you. He said he was back. Is he back?
He's on mute.
Hey!
What was that? Say something there. Fucking multitasking. What was that?
I was talking about Caballero's footwork. Fairly underrated, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I like the guy. Like I don't know what the story is with him. Is he not with a big promoter or something? Why isn't he getting like? I suppose the heavyweight opportunities are kind of limited to the guys at the top, and everyone else is waiting it out. But why is he not? Why are we not seeing more of this guy? Like,
well, what's his audience? He's Kurdish, like you talk about people who really don't have a place. Like he doesn't have much of an audience, and that diaspora is not big enough to follow him around. I guess
he's based in Germany, isn't he?
He is.
Germany's good boxing kind of base, isn't it? Generally for imports as well. I don't know. I like the guy. Anyway. I'd like to see him against any of the guys you mentioned. I think he's good value. Love a good body puncher.
Closer to the mic, Rob. You're a little bit away.
I don't know what the crack is there. No.
Yeah.
No, I think he's a good body puncher. Like he's an all action style. I like watching him, like, so I'm happy to see him as a B-side opponent against anybody because he's always in the mix, like, so yeah, good performance for him, and just good moment from Kakachi as well. We don't want to rehash that, but I did think he could do something against Cordina, and he's got his moment after at 35 years of age. So I like to hear those kind of stories as well. Like.
And he was bigging up the ABO in his speech. I forgot to mention that he was sort of.
I thought that was
unified world champion.
Oh, that's random. So, Des, did you have one other thing, or were you good?
No, but I would like to see us reward heavyweights. So I think if we're going to talk about anyone getting a world title shot, if these belts get scattered, I'd like to see Joseph Parker front of that queue, and then perhaps after that is your Caballeros. But I think if we want to breed good heavyweights that are gonna entertain us for a few years, I don't want to see them get topped before they get there. So I think we could be in danger if we throw Caballero in too soon. So I fancy Caballero against a Dubois or an AJ. I fancy Caballero against a Joe Joyce. But I think let's give Joseph Parker the spoils first because he's earned that, and then let's bring Caballero up afterwards. Don't you agree?
The thing with Caballero, he's 31 now. He's, I'm just looking at his record.
But he's not been active though, is he?
He's not been active. That's the main thing. And I don't know if Dom remembers, but something I remember. I think he's I think he's earned his money outside of boxing. I think. I don't know if that's part of the reason why.
Property or something.
I think so, and I think that's part of the reason why he's maybe not been active or whatever, is because he's been involved in the business side and that. But when he was European champion, because I think he's won it twice. I think he was
a brilliant European champion.
He just seemed to like drop the belt, and he was like MIA.
But if you look at his last two fights, like someone's mentioned in the chat there, and it's true. He was probably unfancied against both Makhmudov and last night against Sanchez.
He was like 10-1 against Makhmudov. So it was a huge underdog.
But you need to remember, right, he was fighting when he was coming off, and he'd been European champion, but at the same time as he hadn't progressed past European stage, he'd actually come down in levels. He'd come down to like the EU stage. He's fighting like Lazaridis and Kevin Johnson, safety pin for Christ's sake, and Pavel Suhr. These aren't the European title challengers,
Yeah. But no, I hope it could be. I agree with what you would think they said. It's hard to see him, against like Fury or Usyk. I think he would come up short. But anything else, and he's gonna be a handful.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of heavyweights under Usyk and Fury with a huge ring IQ, do we? You can't pick many heavyweights outside of Usyk and Fury that exhibit really a big ring IQ. So I think Caballero could swim in those waters But I think if you gave him to an Usyk next, I think he gets beat. And I think that's topping him before he even gets to his prime.
Maybe, considering the way Usyk holds body shots. Maybe. I don't know. Also on that card, another underdog, Robin Safar beating Sergey Kovalev, dropping him in the last 10 seconds. Needed that knockdown to win on one of the cards, but he had a little bit wider on the other two. Good performance from this guy, but Kovalev he's just done. He does not turn through his punches anymore. He's afraid to throw them hard. But another one of many
He looked
upsets.
about 250 years old as well by the time
41.
he hit didn't he? Looked like he fucking got out of a rocking chair to have that fight. Like, I'm surprised that was an underdog in the first place. Like, he looked every bit of his age and every bit how shot he is. Like,
well, and he's a Russian 41, which is at least 50. So, not underdogs winning big fights in winning their not big fights, their expected victories in dominant fashion though. Mark Chamberlain and Moises Atoma just demolishing their respective opposition in their fights. And that is what I saw on that card, and we're gonna move on because it's getting late. In San Diego, another Ukrainian was able to pull off a split decision victory. Denis Baranchyk beating Emmanuel Navarrete, stopping Navarrete's long undefeated run with a score of 116-112 towards Baranchyk, another of 115-113, and Navarrete getting one of 116-112 his own direction. I thought that every flaw that Navarrete had that we've wondered why didn't somebody exploit it, Baranchyk finally did. I think he just needed a guy big enough to hold his feet and who had just enough good shift in his footwork to be able to pull off such a thing. But I was absolutely impressed with this one, Des. I thought Baranchyk did a good job in the fight. I didn't really think that Navarrete had an argument for victory in this one. He just found his weight class ceiling, I think.
And you said this last week, and we all kind of speculated that if the right Baranchyk turns up and the wrong Navarrete turns up, if there's a slight dip in Navarrete's trajectory and a slight incline in Baranchyk, this result could happen. I thought Navarrete would win. Looking back on last night, looking back on the Valdez fight, and looking back at Liam Wilson, they was all red flags. And you're right. I just think he's hit a ceiling. And perhaps if Navarrete wants to travel through weights, he needs to be a bit cuter. He needs to be a bit smarter. And he can't just be this intense, swarming pressure fighter that throw loads of punches, because that will get you fanned out the higher up you go. Baranchyk, worthy winner for me. Real hard nut, good fighter, good pedigree. And another kid from that brilliant Ukrainian school that has produced so many good fighters. And indeed that region. No arguments. I just thought, agree with you, Matty. Just a step too far for Navarrete last night.
Andy, you and I were both on that Baranchyk train in our own ways. You more specifically, I think, than I was. I think you called him on points, but I thought it was just a really nice performance by him. One more championship for that 2012 Ukrainian Olympic team. I thought the best thing that he did was with his right hand, Andy. I thought he was really brilliant in the way that he used his right hook to just be able to turn away from Navarrete, or sometimes move him into a left hand even. It was good work with that right hand, and Navarrete just couldn't really find the space to land his trademark huge uppercuts and such. It was a good performance. The ESPN guys knocked it, but I thought it was a little bit more entertaining fight than they gave it credit for.
To be fair, mate, I was a wee bit kind of hanging with the fight. I didn't think it was a great fight, in all honesty. To be fair, but Navarrete, I felt was. Well, I mentioned this last week again. Because I picked Baranchyk, and I just briefly, I felt just because his resume, previous fights, that he had a good run of wins, and I just felt maybe Navarrete was just biting up a wee bit too much, come up in weight, first fight of the weight, and it kind of showed. Did you see the kind of bit of the belly kind of sagging over the side of the trunks a little bit there? it was a bit telling, but
Mm-hmm.
it was. But look, both fighters had their moments in that. You know, there was good moments within the fight itself. But I just felt, you know, Baranchyk was the boss for better parts of the fight. That, to be honest, I mean, Navarrete was landing at times and that, but there wasn't. He's got that right uppercut, for example, but it wasn't landing it, you know, too much, and he just looked sluggish. He looked very, very flat-footed. I just think he's, as Des mentioned, he's hit his ceiling possibly, and I think he's too high up in weight. I do believe that. If he isn't living the life to stay at 130, then I think what happened last night, especially if he meets a fresher guy with a bigger punch, he could be really into something bad. To be fair, he might come back. I don't know, but if he's to go back down to 130, I think I would fancy like a Foster to beat him. In all honesty,
That's
and
the fight I think to make. I think he has no business at 135, and
yeah, I
Foster's
don't
the
think so.
good fight for him at 130.
And I'll just finish with this question: you guys, Baranchyk against Lomachenko unification fight, you up for that?
That's why I was.
Yeah, we called this last week. That's a good one. Yeah, I think someone said this last week. It's a good one. It works.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know where you necessarily stage it or anything
Poland.
like that.
Hold it in
Right,
Poland.
You think?
Poland or Germany? Aye.
Yeah, Dominic, I like the idea of doing that fight just because, you know, like Slava Ukraini, right? It's great for these guys. It's fantastic. But Dom, I think ultimately, I think even you know, they're both kind of up there in age at the end of the day, so I think that's not as big of a factor as you might suggest in other Loma fights. On skill alone, I got to go Loma, and I got to go Loma wide. What are you thinking, Dom? Or did you step away? Or are you
Dom,
on
you
mute?
on mute, mate? Oh, he's away for a bit of grub, I think.
Oh, why don't I throw that one your way then, Andy? Why don't you answer your own question? How do you think that goes?
I think Loma would win, mate. Again, another guy who's fighting above his best weight and that as well. But I still think he's got enough about him in terms of movement, activity and that as well, in terms of his output. But again, Loma's another one. He doesn't take unnecessary risks in that in terms of trying to push for a stoppage unless he's really got you dangling. I think Baranchyk is tough enough. He's undefeated himself in that as well, as he has nails. So I would probably side with Lomachenko. Probably I wouldn't go too wide in points. I think he will win a couple of rounds, Baranchyk. But I think ultimately after the first 3 or 4 rounds, I think Lomachenko then starts picking up the gas a little bit. Maybe not the same gas as he used to do, but I think he's still got enough to kind of like, you know, start picking up the pace a little bit down the stretch and maybe just start pulling away in points down the 12-round stretch.
Do you think also, Andy? I'm being presuming here. Do you think Lomachenko might have the hoodoo over that Ukrainian team, much similar to the way Lennox Lewis had all the Canadian fighters' tickets? You know, because he was such a big name through the amateur system. I think a lot of Ukrainian kids that was around at that time would really struggle to get their head around beating a Lomachenko.
Yeah, possibly, mate. And again, obviously they'd probably be mates in that as well, wouldn't they? Because obviously the old amateur.
They would be mates, yeah.
The amateur trips to them, because you remember, I mean, you know, some of these. Well, again, I don't know how much stock they put in Loma's amateur record in terms of like 400 fights, because a lot of those fights would be like, you know, tournaments in some far-flung region in Russia somewhere, for example, and that. But they've had, you know, that travel experience, and that, and it might come down to the fact, look, we're not going to fight because we're friends and that type of thing. You know, we're like brothers basically. But ultimately, I think it would be, if it makes business sense, then it makes sense for both guys. You know, at the end of the day, and that. And I think you would pull in a good crowd. I think if you get it in Poland, I think you would get a good crowd in there. But again, you're right enough about what you're saying in that as well. Is would Baranchyk want to kind of like take on an icon of the Ukrainian boxing like Lomachenko? It's another question as
And
well.
the reason I say that is because I make the comparison with Lennox Lewis when he fought Razor Ruddock. You know, Razor was really in awe of Lennox, and I think there was before the Vitaly Klitschko fight. I think the original opponent was Kirk Johnson, and it was almost like, I'm going to do you a favour by giving you this opportunity. Lennox was such a big deal in that squad, and he was such a big name in Canadian amateur boxing. It was almost like unvisionable that another Canadian could beat him. And I maybe think Lomachenko holds that same type of mystique over other Ukrainian kids. I'm not saying he does. I'm just saying maybe that hangs around a bit.
I I don't. I think the weird thing about this fight, and I don't want to go too long into it, but it's a lot of these guys, the fellow Ukrainian fighters, they're not happy with Lomachenko and how he's not so, fully vocal behind Ukraine in this whole thing, and a lot of it apparently chalks up to the
He's an athlete,
Orthodox.
not a politician, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of it chalks up to his Orthodox Church, leanings and things of that. He spent time at that monastery and all that, so it's a different sense of division and things like that. But a lot of the guys have issues with him, so it'd be kind of, I don't know. There actually is a little bit of a storyline in there. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't put all my stock into it happening, but I think it would be very cool to see two Ukrainians in a unification fight at 135 pounds. So we'll see if they make that a reality.
Matty, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would that fight have legs in America? Is there enough of a Russian, a Ukrainian, a Polish demographic in America to make that fight happen?
Well, I think to an extent, yes, but also they can, just on the fact that Lomachenko is one of those fighters that is known outside of boxing. He gets a lot of love just in the greater combat sports and kind of some casual sports fans as well. So I think that fight does sell well in America. I don't know if it's like an event that it could be in Europe though. Like I don't. When you look at having it and having it maybe 12,000 people or whatever in Las Vegas or wherever they land it, maybe they do it at the MGM and they do pretty well there. What does that compare to getting 50,000 people into a soccer stadium? I don't know.
Yeah, but
it doesn't do that. Like it doesn't do
it
that.
Doesn't do it over here. No, we don't adopt people like that. We're not like Germany or America. We don't do that.
Well, I'm talking in Poland. Like they could.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know if we'd do a 50,000 seater stadium in Poland, to be fair, but I think it would do maybe 15,000
What did
arena,
Usyk?
possibly.
Where was the one that Usyk fought Dubois at? How big was that?
Give me a second. I'll just pull up his record here, actually.
Because I thought, I mean, they did pretty well in that thing. That looked probably more than 15,000.
Usyk, yes, study. I'll just pull up the stadium details, mate. But I imagine that's probably a 30,000 seater stadium. Actually, that one. 45,000. So you'd imagine once you get the pitch seats, and you're talking about over 55,000 possibly.
Yeah, if you wanted to do that. So I think Usyk put at least 30,000 people in there, if I remember. I can't remember if it was a sellout or not, but I could see it doing that. I mean, you got to consider, how many Ukrainians are living in Poland right now too. It's a pretty staggering number, isn't it? Like six figures.
Yeah, but they're spread all over Europe, mate. But yeah, Poland's usually the main hub in that. If they're coming into Europe or the west side of Europe and that, then Poland's usually the transit place that they'll come through.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's opportunity for that fight, but we'll see. I just think, Rob, I thought it was a really good performance by Baranchek. He just able to keep his cool, keep his eyes open, find his spots, take advantage of the openings there. I'll give you last word on this fight.
I didn't see it, so.
Oh, fantastic! Great word.
Good win from Baranchek.
Yeah, fantastic win for Baranchek. Thank you for the Rob Kelly boxing minute. Second.
There was too much fucking boxing on this weekend. Like I can't fucking watch everything.
It was one man. You are old. That's a fair point. I think probably the most important point that's been made the entire podcast. Actually, let's see here.
Shots fired.
The only thing worse than getting old is not fucking getting old. Do you know that way?
Yeah.
Denial is called, Rob.
Pour one out for your homies, Rob. That
I'm leaving here
all the way. Anyway, so also on that card, I'll tell you what, I didn't expect much from this fight because Brian Norman Jr. has been just overwhelmingly disappointing in his top rank appearances to this point. And Giovanni Santillan had that really good win over Alexis Rocha recently. So, based on what I had seen, I thought the odds were right that the big underdog, another underdog, we have a number of them. Baranchek 5-1 underdog, another underdog that was like 4-1. Norman Jr.
It came in and it was a good fight with them both swinging, some close rounds. I'd say probably through 6 or 7. It was a fairly close fight. And then Norman Jr. just turned it up until the 10th round. He found a couple of smoking uppercuts, putting Santion down not once but twice, finishing the fight, just sprawling him out. Norman Jr. finally looked like something in this fight. Dominic, I was absolutely impressed with what he did there. And it was just an incredibly fun fight to boot. I don't know if you're back yet. If not, someone else grab it.
Yeah, I'll take it just now,
he's
mate.
still
If he's
gone.
not back, yet. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Norman, for example, it was a spectacular performance, mate. Holy shit! I just did not envisage that type of performance coming off him actually, because you say I've been disappointed with his last couple of fights. He was getting a bit of business, shall I say? He was getting a bit of pressure. He handled it pretty well. I did think his pace was beginning to slow down a little bit, but from being a pretty decent prospect, shall we say, or a touted prospect that wasn't really looking like he was going to deliver on much, I didn't know he had that in him. I just did not he could fight like that. And hats off to him for doing it, because he rose to the occasion. He had to rise to the occasion, because that Santion he's an animal, man. I mean, he really.
Santion landed some smoking left hands over the top. He really did.
Dude, man, was landing some shots. But yeah, look, pressure was just hellacious at times. Look, the pressure he was taking was incredible, as I mentioned. But Norman was actually slowing down. But that knockdown, sorry, the right hand that actually knocked him down. You see a body, twist like that, and you just know it's bad. He's just getting. He's not getting up for that, was he? It's a hard shot, man. But fair fucking play to Norman. I'm going to go back and watch it again at some point during the week. That's how impressed I was by his performance. I just could not believe that he just turned it around like that. It was phenomenal. The ending, it was the weekend, the upsets. It really was actually. And this I was pleasantly surprised with this one, I must admit. So if you've not seen this one, guys, get over it next week or whatever than that and watch this fight. It was phenomenal. Probably definitely KO of the year contender. Wouldn't guarantee it's a KO of the year, but definitely up there. So as I say, Norman, if he can fight like that moving forward, then he's definitely got me as a fan moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what really impressed me, Des, is the fact that Norman did a lot of work off of the ropes, landing some good shots, picking his spots, and then he also did some good work coming forward. It was a really good offensive display, and also a display of counterpunching at times too. Like I said, I did not expect this performance from this fighter, out of the blue for me.
Well, I've got to take your word for it. I never see that one, but on the back of what you and Andy just said, I'm going to go and watch it. You've convinced me.
All right. Well, I think if Dom's still away, I think that's everybody that's seen that fight. So we also on that had Richard Torres Jr. and what was kind of a fun fight at times against Brandon Moore, with Torres taking him out in the 5th round, getting a little bit of a mercy stoppage there. There's something to Torres Jr. I just don't know if that's the top level of sport. I think there was, Andy, wasn't there a rumor of Jared Anderson fighting Deontay Wilder if Wilder beat Zhang? Was that what I remember?
Sure about that one, mate, to be fair with you. Jared Anderson, give me a second.
I swear I heard a rumor about. I swear I heard if Zhang or if Wilder beat Zhang at the 5-on-5, that they're trying to put that on the Crawford card in Los Angeles.
Right, give me a second. Just try to see.
I don't think that Jared Anderson can leave the country with his list of legal problems.
Aye, Boxing News are covering it. Deontay Wilder versus Jared Anderson. Aye, for August 3rd card in Los Angeles. Of course, His Excellency's got. He's not putting a card on in America soon.
Yep, he is.
So it's that event then. So if he does, so if he beats Zhang, which is not a guarantee, consider how well they looked in his last fight.
And I think I'll tell you, I think that's a ridiculous fight. I would rather see Jared Anderson against Richard Torres. I would rather see process of elimination with them to move up rather than just throwing Anderson up there. I mean, but fair play. If Wilder comes out and if you beat Zhang, he's got enough left that I think he'll splatter Anderson. But
see, but honestly, mate, if you were to feed Anderson to Wilder and somehow he beats Wilder, he's then in line, and I don't think he's ready. So you're probably right. He probably should be fighting Maybe a guy like Matt Mudoff, for example, or Torres. I don't even think Torres is ready for even a step up at this point. I mean, but he's been fighting since he turned pro. It's awful. It really is awful. So I mean, I'm just trying to think who else Anderson was, who else would be fight. But I just think Anderson, if he does what it would beat Wilder, for example, he's next in line. I don't see him beating like maybe even a Joshua at this point. I don't know, mate. To be fair, I'm still on the fence with Anderson at this point. To be fair,
I don't know. He'll have to get lucky. I think. I don't think he's got it. That's my
I
opinion.
suppose it's a bit of politics and a bit of luck, as you say, down the road, and that these belts fragment. Someone mentioned about the IBF title becoming vacant because is it Hergovich against Dubois? Is that not the final eliminator, or is that for the belt or an interim title? I can't mind.
Does it even matter?
No.
Usyk's the man at heavyweight. We all know
That's
it.
That's all we need to
know. Let's see here. Also on that card, unfortunately, that's all that I caught, and I don't think you guys caught it. If you didn't catch any of that was discussed, but let's see here. There we go. Also, Alon Garcia continued his undefeated run, taking out taking unanimous decision over Wilfredo Flores, blanking him on the cards. Emiliano Vargas stopping his opponent, Angel Varela Urena. Art Barrera Jr. Beating Levi Josue Garcia Benitez. These guys have a lot of names. And Jonathan Mansour, in his debut fight, getting a chance to be on the air on Top Rank. Apparently, good for him. So that was that card in the United States. Here, who did we lose here? We lost Rob. Oh boy. And let's see here. So now we have to go to our previews, and we're gonna try to run the. We got a little bit of time. Finally wrapped that up. Let's see here. First up, we have a Pro Box card. That's going to be on Wednesday, per usual. Jukambayev coming back and taking on the combustible, never in a dull fight, Ivan Redkach. He's DQs and all sorts of crap going on in his career. Never a dull moment.
Is that Ivan build that wall red catch of the also wearing the kind of the bricks on his fucking trunks?
No, that was Rod Selka.
Oh, Rod the Prod, right?
Yeah. I haven't heard of Vaughn's feelings on heard his thoughts on immigration yet, but God knows what he might say. Who knows? But that fight should probably be pretty crazy. Looking forward to it. Charles Harris Jr. taking on Kyle Irwin, both one defeat on their records. An interesting fight here. Jonathan Cardoso taking on Adam Lopez. This is at 135 pounds, I believe, and Cardoso has 15 knockouts in his 16 wins. I'm just thinking that I didn't like the way that Adam Lopez was holding shots at 130 against Abraham Nova. So I don't know. I'm feeling a stoppage here. I don't know what the numbers are going to be on that, but that's my hunch. I think. Just speaking of weight class too high, I think 135 pounds is way too high for Adam Lopez. But we'll see. I've been wrong on many things before. That'll be on Wednesday night. Let's see here. On Friday, I just found this to be odd. This would be very odd. Let's check this one out, Andy. It's a stupid card. I just don't care. Well, I guess there's an undefeated fight on there. I don't see any.
The zone card by any chance?
No, this is in Canada. And but it's the main event is Devin Alexander.
Oh, I did see that.
Fighting against Vlad Panin at 154 pounds. I don't know much about Vlad, but with 4 losses in a row, I'm shocked that Devin is still going at this point in time. It just popped out of nowhere. I was scrolling. I'm like, that's not good. So
yeah, does he look awful when his last? He said it looked like he was absolutely awful in his last fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I gonna call
awful.
Yeah, he just keeps going on. What else is he going to do? I guess he might not have been good with his money. And I don't know what else is on this card, but Des, let me throw this your direction, sir. Got a Bridgerweight fight. As much as I hate even acknowledging the division, Lucas Rosinski defending his title against Lawrence Okoli. I guess this is a slightly reasonably interesting fight. I would have to give the edge to Okoli, who is a very big cruiserweight and has had a far better level of opposition. What are your thoughts?
Being a Brit, I'm very familiar with Lawrence Okoli. I'm going to give him the edge on this one. And now we've seen Lucas a few times over here. The Babbage result didn't tell us much about him, did it? Because Babbage is a fighter with a level. Everything points to a Lawrence win, but I'm not overly impressed with Lawrence. And yeah, Lawrence wins this one, but I don't know where Lawrence goes. I've got to be honest with you, Matty. I've seen Lawrence stink the place out so many times. I'm not quite sure he should be a boxer. That sounds strange, isn't it? When you consider he's an Olympic medalist, British, Commonwealth, European champion, won a version of a world title, but he just looks really awkward. Looks like he hasn't mastered a particular style. I don't think leaving Shane was a good move.
Oh, I disagree with you. He has watched
Really?
the John Ruiz career retrospective and said, I can do that.
Yeah, maybe something like that, or he's watched the Matthew Barney highlight reel. I don't know, but for me, yeah, Lawrence probably beats Lucas. I don't know loads about Lucas. I've seen him a few times, but there's not an awful lot of a level to gauge him on. Lawrence wins. I don't know how. He's with Joe Gallagher. That'd be interesting because I think someone like Lawrence needs a good trainer, and he's got a good trainer in Joe, and he'd be in a good gym with other good fighters. So let's give Lawrence a clean slate and let's see what happens next Friday. But the jury's out on him for me.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm looking forward to this fight, but I'm not. If I can find a way to watch it, I will. I'm sick like that. Dom,
Can I
are you
just
gonna
say?
be?
Can I just say something?
Yeah,
Can I just
sure,
say
Dennis.
something, Matthew? I don't think guys like Lawrence should be out on their own with a trainer, with some sort of exclusive deal, living in some sort of echo chamber. They need to be in a gym with other kids, with a trainer, and they need to be amongst it. They need to, they need to be in and around it, and they need to be learning all the time. They can't be away from it. So I think, much like I thought Shane was a good move, I think Joe Gallagher will be a good move for him. So I think that's a positive.
Yeah, he might be able to find the right trainer, but we've seen moments where he looked like he was getting away from that style. He was putting them together, playing the role of the big man and knocking some guys out, and then he just reverts back to it. I don't know. So
Yeah. And look, let's hope Joe's got him boxing with a style that's effective, and it gets the job done. Let's hope Lawrence can start setting traps and using long arms and using his power, transferring it. But I've seen quite a few now with Lawrence Okoli, and I swore once never to say his name again. I'm gonna, for the benefit of this podcast, I will use his name. But for me, Lawrence is someone that's really got it all to do now. If he wants to live in this somewhere between cruiserweight and heavyweight, and I think the future for Lawrence is heavyweight. So he's gonna have to show me something now.
yeah, it's time to, especially coming off of that loss to CBS. He definitely needs to get it together. Andy, do you have any thoughts on this fight before we move on? I think we're still without Dominic.
Nah.
I think he's still grubbing out. Or
Just move on, mate.
all right, let's see here. We have a card in Canada. Let's see here. Yeah, card in Canada on Saturday night. So we're not going in exact chronological order, but we'll back it up here in a second. Christian M. Billy going to be fighting Mark Heffron. Albert Ramirez, who I think you might be high on, Andy, is fighting Adam Danes, who's 23-2-1. I think he's been against some decent fighters. Makhmudov is coming back against the 27-3 Miljan Rovkanen. I swear I've seen him because that name is familiar and it shouldn't be. Mehmet Unal, I know you're high on him. Berdal, I think you were, weren't you? I thought you mentioned that guy. Maybe it's someone else I was thinking about. I don't know.
Remember it. Well, he was.
They all
I'm
run
sure-
together, Andy. They all run.
Yeah, possibly maybe. I think he'd also been. I think he'd been in the high up in the amateurs at one point in that as well. Turkish boy. I think he'd fought World Series of Boxing or something like that. But yeah, it's an interesting card actually. I mean, I'll be honest, when I seen the card, I can't remember the Billy Heffron fight getting made actually. So interesting one. I tell you what, Mark Heffron's got a lot of hard work to do in that fight. To be fair, so it's interesting. I know he got stopped off Jack Cullen. When was it last year, the year before, whatever it was. So that's a tough one, and and Billy's he's all action, so it'll be an interesting one. Albert Ramirez, yeah, I've mentioned him a couple of times. Decent fighter, to be fair, but there's question marks now, really, regards to the gas tank. I mean, he's up in age, 30, early 30s, and that. Another one with vast amateur experience, but the tank after about 6, 7, 8 rounds is questionable. And after, if he goes past that, generally speaking, it's going to go the distance usually. And that Adam Dens, I'm sure he'd been in with Beterbiev and went about 10 rounds with him. So he's durable. So there's every chance this fight could possibly go the distance. That Wilkins Mateu, Matty's making an appearance. 19-year-old, remember him?
Probably.
We mentioned him in his previous fight actually against Patrick Fiala. I think his name was, knocked him out in 2 rounds. Interesting fighter actually. Big dude. I think he's only 19 or something, but he's like 175 pounds. So he's fighting at super middleweights. I really don't know where he's going to settle once he gets to that mid-20 mark. It could be a light heavyweight, could be a cruiserweight. I don't know, but want to keep an eye on anyway. That Wilkins Mateu and Johan Orobio making another appearance in that as well. I think he's a Colombian or a Venezuelan, possibly 20-year-old. Another one who's getting highly touted, so another one to keep an eye on as well. So yeah, these Canadian cards again. Prospect builders possibly in that as well. But Billy is the one I'm kind of looking forward to, because obviously I think he is the one chapping on the door now at 168 looking for title fights. So again, once the Alvarez situation kind of takes care of itself, I wouldn't be surprised to see Billy possibly getting the call to maybe fight Munguia or a Pacheco, something along those lines in the future. Maybe even a Brazilian, because that will be an easy fight to get made, seeing it's an all-Canadian affair, basically.
They're probably going to cash him in at some point.
Yeah, he's ready. He could take it, I think, Brazilian, to be fair.
Yeah. And Des, I'll tell you, I don't know that Heffron's the guy, but I don't think Billy's going to find himself as the top of the tops. Like he's quick, he's powerful, he's athletic, he has a variety of punches, but I don't see a lot of nuance in a lot of the way that he throws. He throws everything hard, he throws everything fast, and for a pro's pro, that's all going to become very predictable, and someone's going to find a spot and punch in between it, and they're going to test that chin. I just don't know that Heffron's the guy.
Yeah, you're possibly right about Billy. But Heffron, and you're also right about Heffron's not the guy to find him out. Is Heffron still with Joe Gallagher, Matty? Do you know that at all? Or does Andy know that?
No clue.
To be fair, mate, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, so you got to assume Joe's going to be working with Lawrence. So who's going to be taking Mark up? And maybe Mark's not working with Joe anymore. I don't know. This to me sounds like a fight where, look, Mark got beat, stopped by Jack Cullen, who got beat by Zach Chelly. So Mark Heffron has proven that he's of a level. I'm not saying he can't come again, but previously Mark's been beaten by Denzel Bentley, who got beaten by Nathan Heaney, and at world level got beaten by Johnny Beck. So Mark's of a level. And it sounds to me like someone said, look, we're being offered really good money to go over there and fight this kid that's on the up. I think Mark gets beat. I think he gets well paid. And perhaps he comes back to domestic level and rebuilds and fights for versions of domestic titles. But no, I agree with you, Matty. And Billy will possibly get found out when he goes up in levels. And I've spoke about Billy on this pod before. Maybe we shouldn't ask too much of Billy. And Billy's an exciting fighter. He can punch. And we're going to enjoy his fights. Let's not try and tweak it and ask too much of him. Let's enjoy him. But in terms of who wins this one, Mark Heffron doesn't beat Billy.
I think that any combination of Billy, Munguia, and Berlanga is a fun fight. And I think
Correct.
that's a level in itself too. So
Correct.
I
And
actually
that's
rate
what you got to
Billy
get from
higher
them,
than
Billy.
Berlingo.
Yes, so whatever way you put them, Andy, it's a good group, though, isn't it? And that's what you got to do in boxing. We've got to enjoy these guys. Wherever you place them in the pecking order, I think they belong together. And I think
Yeah.
Billy's going to be in a lot of fun fights. And I think we've got to really enjoy him and Billy while he's here.
Just got to make the fights. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yep, getting them made is the main thing. Before we go to the last card, I want to thank people in the chat. I'm going to try to think of as many people as I can. I know that Chris Mason was in there, and someone was surprised, like, "Hey, Chris Mason!" All right, so yeah, thanks, Chris, for being in there. Michael Thompson, Thomas Newman, Johnny, Hamed, Jason Chuckwoo. He was in here early. Very impressed with you, Jason. Dex 2024 is in here as well. Mark Stanton. Take Ames as well. Our buddy Ames in here. Oh, another name I can mess up. It's fantastic. We got Gutasab Yakub. I bet I'm closer to that than most Scottish names, Andy. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I got Paul Rafferty in there as well. Let's see here. One's Gook. I don't know. That's my guess. One SGUK. I don't know. I'm sorry for how wrong I got that. I have no clue. Let's see here. Ray as well. The Juice. Let's see here. John Trounson. Get a couple more in here. Don't want to leave as many out as we can. Beat Bob Boop, our good buddy, in there as well. Let's see here. M. Lithgow. And let's find just one more. And MB is in there as well. Thank you, everyone in there as well. We'll thank the super chatters at the end of the episode as well. You guys have been very generous today. Appreciate you all. The big event this week, though, we got a rematch, fellas. We got a rematch. Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall.
Sure? It's not here yet.
Yeah, God only knows. We'll see. Maybe someone has a drunken rampage, gets arrested, put in jail, can't fight. But they're getting it on, and they're getting it on again at 140 pounds. Their first one, very, very controversial. Most people feeling that Catterall did enough to get the nod. Taylor was awarded the victory by the judges, though. On the undercard, going to have Siobhan Clark against Alice Zorro. Zorro being a victim of Apataya. Gary Cully trying to continue the comeback against Francesco Patera. This is back at lightweight. Think that's a bad decision for him. I don't know. We'll see. And Patty Donovan against Lewis Ritson on there as well. That could be a decent enough fight. Let's hit that undercard real quick first before we move into the main event. Andy, what are your thoughts on the undercard?
Not much, mate. I think the Paddy Donovan and Lewis Ritson fight might be an interesting one to the point that in terms of like learning for Paddy Donovan. I know Ritson has probably had his day in terms of like this feared puncher, and he's never been the same. So I would expect Donovan to be favourite in this fight, but you just often wonder if Ritson maybe is on court or something that might just make Paddy think twice. But I don't think he will. I think Paddy will dominate the fight possibly.
It's a good measuring stick for a guy with less than 10 fights.
This is what I'm thinking as well. But if he's getting stopped off for Hara Davis, then I'm really thinking Paddy could win big. But again, you just never know on the night. It matters on the night. That's the main thing. But I do think on the night Paddy will be too much for Lewis Ritson, who I think is definitely on the slide. But as I say, his best days and probably strongest days were at 135. I don't think he belongs about 140 to be fair. And Paddy has been improving over the last number of fights and that as well. So it's to me, there's only one winner, and it's Paddy Donovan. But you just never know.
It is boxing.
Undercard, sorry, I don't think there's anything else on the card. Give me a second to see if we can pull it up. Francisco Patera. Oh, he's back, is he? Gary Cully. Yeah, I suppose it might be interesting to a point. Cully's.
Cully's chin's in the fight. It makes it interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. He has got a decent dig, but he can also hang the chin up there as well, and that he can take a bit of trimming in that. But yeah, it might be decent. Patera's usually decent. He'll go rounds. He's durable up at a certain level. So I think that one's probably got distance written over it. Actually, to be fair. Well, you said Clark. Is that Siobhan Clark? Zorro. That's the guy who got beat off. Who's it? He got beat off now. Opataya smashed him up in 1 round. Aye, that's right. That's right. Yeah, no great to be fair, but I think Donovan against Ritson's probably the pick of the undercard. I think just to see if Paddy either can get rid of him, and Gary Cullen Patera might be worth as well keeping a wee eye on possibly.
Yeah, never know on that one. He definitely is an experienced pro, and Cully is overly flawed. Des, what are your thoughts on the undercard before we go to the main event?
Yeah, I think they've been a bit harsh on Zorro. He'd done him a favour fighting Opatara in a fight he couldn't win. And then they've chucked him in against Chevron Clark, which is potentially another fight he can't win. I might be wrong, but it's a hard one. I thought they'd give him an easy one coming back. Yeah, the undercard, I see it the same way as Andy does. I can't see Paddy Donovan getting beat. I think Chev Clark wins. I think hopefully Gary Cully comes through as well. But we've seen a bit of Patera, who's a good fighter. So, yeah, I think they're the big ones, the Donovan, Cully, Clark, leading up to the main event. But I'd like to see Cully win. I'd like to see Donovan win. I'm a big fan of Paddy Donovan.
Definitely a talented fighter. Definitely a talented fighter. I don't know if he'll ultimately find his way to world level, but he's a talented fighter.
And look, they've got Lewis Ritson at the right time, though. I think Lewis Ritson is I hate saying this about fighters, but I think he's seen better days. So I think he's hanging in there now. So I think it's a good match for Paddy Donovan.
Haven't we all seen better days, Des? It is what it is. So, Dominic, I'm going to see if you're there by chance and just message us. If you want to say anything on another card, going 3, 2, 1. Now, there must be a heck of a line at the chip shop, huh?
Either that, or he's got himself a mound of food there and he's just taking his time eating it, or he's forgot all about us.
That's possible. There's a lot of options on that one. Hopefully nothing bad has happened. Rob also disappeared. Is it possible that Rob has abducted Dominic and is going to subject him to horrible things? We'll find out. If Rob doesn't show up for the rest of the show, I think that's kind of where we have to bring our conclusions to at this point in time. So, anyways, they got a few minutes left here. Great timing as we move into this main event that everybody's been looking forward to. It's been pushed off so many times. There's so many questions. I think, especially about Catterall. I guess maybe about Taylor. Maybe a few about Catterall, but most of the questions are going to be about Taylor coming off of the loss to Teofimo Lopez. He clearly seems to like to party quite a bit. I don't know. And I think ultimately what it comes down to, Andy, is the idea that Taylor is going to have to make some real adjustments to win this fight, because I think maybe the judging will be better because they realize there's going to be watching them a little more heavily here, but he's got to make some adjustments. What Catterall was able to do against him in the first fight was fight the perfect small man's fight. He kept low. He threw over the top. He closed the distance when he had to. Kept a wide step behind him at times, and Taylor just didn't have any answers. And this is at 140 pounds. And we've already wondered, I don't know if he could have made that safely for the Teo fight. And here he is again. I don't know. We're going to get a lot of answers, but what are you thinking?
To be fair, mate, I'm kind of thinking something similar to the first fight. There has been a lot of speculation with Josh since the Ramirez fight that it's been all downhill for there. It kind of looks like it has been. I mean, the first fight, we all know, we all saw. I mean, I'm no that biased towards my countrymen to say that he won the fight. He didn't. He got gifted a decision that night, and Catro has quite rightly feels robbed about it. And then the subsequent fallout off the back of it was just embarrassing to hear people try and justify Josh winning the fight or getting a decision. Sorry, it was just nonsensical. Everybody knows what happened there. I think Catro got a point deducted in that fight, so maybe that was eventually what's really done him in the end. I think it wasn't it, but in terms of the official scorecards, at least. And the weight, you're right. Again, we need to wait to see how Taylor looks like on the scales on the night. I mean, I've seen him in some pretty dreadful conditions trying to make 140. I don't know what he's been doing in terms of his lifestyle off the back of the Lopez fight. I don't know if it's maybe recentered him, maybe refocused him. I don't know. I just think, jumping from Lopez to Catterall, to be fair, after speaking about going to 147, I would imagine he's getting handsomely rewarded for it, because to me, with no much on the line, I don't know if there's a belt on the line, I don't know if there's anything being put up for it, but unless it's big money or a decent payday, I just didn't see. I'm not up for this fight. Actually, to be fair, I'm not really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you're not sounding all that
No,
excited,
I
and
know.
it's a Josh Taylor fight. That's not good.
Again, mate. I mean, I've been to a lot of Josh's fights. I just don't think he's the same fighter anymore, and don't want to write him off after that Lopez fight because Lopez was sensational that night, and I kind of wrote Lopez off, thinking that Taylor was going to show us what he was all about, and he has looked awful the last two fights. So he has really got it all to prove now, and it sounds bad to say that because a guy ex undisputed champion in division has got it all to prove. He has, because this is his career on the line here. If he does not win, then it's essentially he's either moves up in weight, which is probably too much for him at this point. I just don't think he can hang with the bigger dudes at 147. Hasn't looked great the last few fights, as I mentioned, so there is concerns, and I just don't know. At this point in my career, in his career, I think Taylor is all the fighter he's going to be, and I don't think he's going to make the necessary adjustments needed to possibly make it with Carroll. I think he can maybe make it an ugly fight. I think he's probably going to try and hurt Catrol early and try and disrupt his rhythm a little bit. But if he falls into that rhythm, whereas that Catrol just keeps picking him off with a jab and starts working around about him, and so he's in for a torrid night. Catrol he's no flash in that, but he has solid fundamentals. And one thing that can win you fights is solid fundamentals. We've seen Arguello do it, make a career out of it, become a 3-weight world champion doing it.
He knows how to slow down the pace and lull you in.
Yeah, he can fight his own
not
pace.
Gonna pop on you.
He can fight his own pace and that type of thing and that as well. So I think as well the judges will be very heavily scrutinising this fight, and I just hope we get a clear winner this time. No shenanigans on the cards and that, as I says. So yeah, I think Catrol wins a 115, 116 type scorecard. I just don't know about Taylor, mate. There's too many variables with him at this point in his career. Motivation, the weight, things like that. He's been prone to mark up in the past, swelling, cuts. So you just don't know if he could maybe get stopped or something like that, and then he loses in the scorecard after 6 rounds, for example, because he needs to go to the cards. I don't know. I just don't know where Josh is at this point in his career. And he says he's 33. I don't know. So that's why I make Catrol probably the favourite of this fight, and I think he wins it on points.
That seems to be conventional wisdom, I think. The way that just based on what we saw in the first fight, and I guess I'd probably have to lean that way too. I just feel uncomfortable laying a bet on this fight. But a couple of things I think of in this one. I worry about a guy who likes to drink, especially as they get older, because they're more likely to cut. They're more likely to bleed. That opens up a whole different can of worms. Do you think that this fight is going to follow the conventional script, or do you think we have a surprise waiting in store?
That was a great breakdown by Andy, by the way, because he's a little bit closer to Josh, and he'll potentially hear things that perhaps I don't, being so close to it. I don't quite know how Josh is living at the minute, but what I do know is he's been incredibly inactive, and I think it's 2 fights in 3 years, to almost to the month, when he gets back in the ring with Jack. I thought he was really flat against Catrol. He had his head handed to him against Teo. I'm not quite sure at 33, with this inactivity and with this bad form, what Josh can do differently now. And maybe Josh is one of those real talents that peaked somewhere between 2017 to 2020. And we've seen the best of Josh Taylor. And because he was so good and he was out on his own, and promotionally he wasn't tied into a big company that could have marketed him and pushed him in the right direction at the right time for Josh. Maybe we've seen the best of him. And what we're seeing now is, without being disrespectful, what's left. And I think Jack Catrol's a kid who's strong, who comes in at the right weight. We're not sure about that if that's the case with Josh. And Jack's got this style that can make everybody look really bad. And he can sort of switch you off and frustrate you. And I'm not sure Josh has got the temperament or the personality to deal with being frustrated in a fight that means so much for his career. I'm gonna keep with my principles of I look at your form, I look at your activity, I look at your age, I look at your personality, and I look at the past, and all roads seem to all point Jack Catterall another point of decision. But let's see if Josh can turn back the clock. Let's see if is he still with Joe McAnally? Anybody? Does anybody know?
I think he is with Joe McAnally still, mate. I'll just double check.
Okay. Well, if he, I mean, we know Joe. We know he comes from a good city with a good gym. That would be good for Josh. But if I'm being honest, I really don't fancy Josh in this one. I think it's going to be a Catterall by decision.
It's interesting you guys going there because the fight is about 50-50 with the books. Last I looked, I think Taylor might have opened up a small favorite, but I believe it moved. Let me take a look here again because it.
Taylor's a favorite, is he?
I think he opened a favorite, but it's moved to an even fight. Minus Vig, obviously. It's I don't know. It's interesting to see some of that because wherever just based on where they're setting the line, like if the bookmakers have no real skin in the game. Yeah, where I'm looking on DraftKings, they have just a little bit of an extra vig on Taylor basically. What I think they're doing is there's probably a greater likelihood for a draw on that one, and they're spreading it out a little bit. Yeah, the draw is 14-1, which is a little bit low by draw standards.
Right.
So it's so I mean Taylor just like the narrowest of favorites, but on DraftKings, I like that they put this up here, by the way. I hate that I'm giving them free advertising, but whatever. 28% of the bets have been placed on Taylor. 72% of the bets have been placed on Catterall.
Aye.
Yep. So, Des disappeared. I don't know if we actually threw you off or you disappeared on, but yeah, it's I think that's interesting. That's pretty close. But to see that the money's going in on Catterall.
Dominic's back apparently.
Dom, are you back? That's fantastic. Perfect timing.
Yes, Molly.
I thought you fell asleep or you were in a long line at the chip shop. You got abducted by Rob. There are a lot of things that could have happened.
A lot of possibilities in there.
There really is. The world is your oyster, and sometimes that oyster is frightening. So we were just talking, the odds for draw a little bit closer on this one. Taylor, the narrowest of favorites on this, but on DraftKings, 72% of the bets have been placed on Catterall. Are you betting this fight?
Like our dear departed host Wellington, I'm not really a betting man, Matty, but
you're smart.
But I fancy Catterall probably by decision or by, depending on what Taylor's got left and what his preparation's been like, maybe even late stoppage. Around the time of the launch presser to announce this rematch, before the fight was first postponed, before the rematch was postponed, there was a number of screenshots doing the rounds of Taylor, and he didn't look great at all. Now this may have been before he formally entered camp, but he doesn't look healthy from the pictures that I've seen. It'll be very interesting to see what he looks like on Fight Week. I'm surprised that he's agreed to the rematch at 10 stone as opposed to 142 or 143 or even 144.
100%, right there with you.
Catterall's definitely more comfortable at 140, and it's hard to avoid the suspicion that perhaps that's a sign that Taylor would rather go through the pain of making the weight and putting himself at that disadvantage than conceding the money at the negotiating table that it would require to have the fight at 142 or 143. Do you know what I'm saying? You know that if he
had to give up some leverage if he was to get that.
Yeah, and I think
it's all about that last bit of cash, I suppose. He runs in that last bit he can get.
Yeah,
Or he's just another in a long line of stubborn Scotsmen. I mean, that's always.
Well, there's that as well. But the thing is, every penny's a prisoner to us, by the way. So
there's a lot of angles there.
Yeah, there's a lot to think about. So at the end of the day, he's wanting to get. Again, as I say, sorry, Dom, but I just think he's ready for the way
far
out.
away, Andy, far away.
Yeah, he's not. I've said my piece, mate. So I'll just let you come in. But I think he's on the way out. So he's obviously just looking for that one last payday, try to rinse out the last shekels that he can get. Because as I say, I don't think it's there for him to go to 147 to challenge, and it didn't look like he had anything left after Lopez. To be fair, so as I say, it sounds weird to say it about an ex-undisputed champion, but he really has got all to prove next week.
He does it. It's sort of I think if you try and take a step back and look at the arc of his career since he left the McGuigan setup, I think he's been steadily declining since he parted ways with Shane. I've always thought that if he had have still been with McGuigan's, his victory over Ramirez in the undisputed fight would have been a lot cleaner than it was. And I think he took in the Lopez fight. He took a bad beating that night. I mean, Lopez did everything apart from stop him. And I felt after the Ramirez fight, I thought that really was the time for him to move up to 147. I think he's been handicapping himself and sabotaging himself by remaining at 140 as long as he has. And I think it's a real shame that his peak at 140 didn't coincide with the sort of talent that exists at 140 at the minute. People like Matias. I mean, I think if a peak Taylor against Matias that we see at the minute would have been an awesome fight. But I think Cottrell probably has his number as well. It's not a great style matchup, and I think Cottrell points or late stoppage. That's probably what we're going to see. I was about to say that it's a shame the way Taylor's career has gone, but in recent years, the way he's carried on, I think, when he was with the McGuigans, the sort of nature of his personality that's a bit unsavory was sort of kept under wraps. But the longer the time has elapsed since he left the McGuigans, that has sort of filtered out more and more. I think the managerial setup on the McGuigans, they had him sort of under wraps a bit, but it's sort of since he's left them, it's all gone south, as you would say, Molly, over there. But
Dom, can I ask you something, mate?
Yes, far away, Dave.
Perhaps it was the perfect storm for Josh at that time because he was in a good gym with a lot of good fighters, world-class fighters. He had a renowned trainer, and I class Shane as a renowned trainer now. He had a big personality in the gym in Barry. He was a fantastic man in boxing. Forget the other stuff. I'm talking about in a managerial capacity. Barry can pick the phone up to anyone. Barry can get you into any training camp. Barry can get you anywhere in the world with relation to boxing. He's a very, very knowledgeable, hands-on man in that sense. I'm not talking about the other stuff. And also what they had with Josh was tournament boxing. So he was active, and he was active at a good level. What we've seen since he's left Shane is inactivity. And if you've got someone who's struggling at weight, the last thing you want is them to be sitting at home. So I just think his decline has been so coincidental in the fact that he's left Shane, he's not as active, and he's struggling with the weight. So I'm not quite sure if it's all about Shane, but I think that's been one of the key components.
It is a bit, mate. It is a bit. You know why? Because Shane is also very good with the diet. He's very switched on with that regard. I'm sure. So he would have been on Josh's ass in terms of that, because he had Carol down at Dominant. You probably heard this as well. He had Carol Frampton down at something close to 3% body fat.
Something completely ridiculous.
Oh my God,
mate! I kid you not. This is a true story,
like
right?
At that point in time, your body starts eating muscle.
4%.
True story. This right. I was at the weigh-in for the he was on the undercard at the Froch Booty fight down in Nottingham, right? And it was really hot that day at the weigh-in. It was outside, right?
I remember it well.
Right, and they take it was a metal scale, so they take the scales off because the sun was cooking the scales, right? Carroll appeared on stage with full jeans, Timberland boots, winter jacket, gloves, and a hat because he was so low in body fat. If he touched or anything like that, he was scared to speak to anybody or touch anything because if he touched it, he could chances he would go ill because he was so low in body fat. He had nothing really to kind of fight infection. That's how low he was in body fat, mate. You could see the veins popping at him.
Ugh.
I remember
incredible.
there's pictures of him around that time, and he really was he was down at a ridiculous body fat. But the thing about the sort of relationship between Taylor especially and the McGuigans is Taylor's a very, it's a statement of the obvious by now. He's a very naturally aggressive personality, and he fights like that too. And I remember listening to an interview with Dave Boy Macaulay years ago, who was sort of managed by the same manager as Barry McGuigan when Barry McGuigan was fighting. And Dave Boy Macaulay said that the McGuigan sort of philosophy about boxing was contrary to the sort of exciting style that Barry had. The philosophy that the McGuigans had was to box if you can box, only to engage in warfare and a real sort of hard fight unless you absolutely have to. And that sort of approach, that discipline that Shane had, it dovetailed very neatly with Taylor's natural aggression, and it was just a perfect blend. And since I think you saw in the Teo Lopez fight that the absence of that was very deleterious to Taylor's chances. So yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to be the last we see of Taylor. And it's sort of, it's strange when you think back after he beat Ramirez, everyone in hardcore circles was sort of pining after a fight between Taylor and Crawford at 47. Now I think I think even at the time we all knew Crawford would have been a sizable favourite, but it's just one of those pathways that didn't get taken.
Yeah. It's there's a lot that could have happened that didn't happen. It's boxing, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what, Josh Taylor's resume and what he accomplished until he went in with Catterall was a pretty damn impressive run, starting out with the domestic stuff, too. He had a really good run, about 10 fights there, the high quality of competition. So fair play to him on that. But we'll see how this fight goes. But I don't like the rankings at 143. And there's a couple of, I don't know. How many of these fighters can you see them beating at 140 pounds? Teofimo Lopez, Haney, Subriel Matias, Jose Ramirez, Regis Prograis. I think Prograis is pretty done.
That Haney fight might be questionable now, actually, because after the beating he took off Garcia.
Fair enough. Richardson Hitchens, Gary Antoine Russell, Sandor Martin, Lindolfo Delgado. Delgado could be a bad dude, actually. We'll find out. I don't know how many of those guys they beat. They're both also ranked in the ring top 10, but I don't know. I'm not particularly high on either of them right now, and that's kind of why I'm staying away from this fight. I would lean towards a Catterall decision. I just get a feeling that something weird is going to happen in this fight, something unexpected, and I don't know what way it's going to go.
You just don't know, mate. Maybe Taylor just comes out and says "fuck it" and goes for it. For like, I've got 6 rounds of me, I'll just go for it because he's just that. Mate, the guys are right. He's hyper aggressive. Well, at least he was in his prime. Some of the stuff you'd hear of him as a kid, that he was a maniac, right? To be honest, right? But you just wonder if he could maybe just flip that switch one more time and go for it. He might turn it.
Maybe Andy's done the weight really
hard,
well.
Yeah, but Catterall's hard to look good against. And that he's very, very cute, So he does the basics very, very well, and as I say, he kind of lull you into it, So.
If he does the weight really well, and we see him on the scales and on the weigh-in, and he looks really good, and he's got a big smile on his face, and him and Joe look like they've got a really good link and connection, well, then maybe it might change our opinion of it. But I think this week's going to tell us an awful lot about this fight, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those I've got to wait to see what he looks like on the scales.
Yeah.
Catterall's very composed as a fighter. He's not too up, not too down. He's always
flustered. Doesn't seem flustered or anything like that.
Absolutely. He's hard to ruffle. Hard to get out of his stride.
I'll say if he isn't totally drained at the weight, and he brings the uppercut to the table against the smaller fighter and finds moments for it, I think Taylor wins and he'll win big. But it's based on those two ifs. So, but anyway, I think we need to get to the value of the week, or we're going to be here.
Just
probably
briefly,
sure.
Marty, is there anything of note on that undercard next week?
Oh, we already went over it.
Is there anything of note?
Paddy Donovan against Lewis Ritson,
Ritson,
possibly,
yeah.
and Gary Cully against Francisco Patera.
Yeah, that's probably your best offering.
Donovan, I think they're setting up Donovan for a fight. If Crocker beats Jonah Walker, Crocker's fighting this Walker guy on a Matchroom undercard in June sometime. I think they're hoping to match Donovan. Should he? I mean, you would expect him to come through against Ritson. They're hoping to match him against Crocker, maybe I think in Belfast or in Ireland later this year.
Belt's that for Irish title?
I don't know what belt it's for. Don't know what belt it's for, Andy, but it's a fight that I think Matchroom were hoping to make even now, at this time. But I think both camps wanted Billy Nelson, by the way, Andy, just a brief tangent. He was tipping Fury heavily.
I seen that. What was it?
Did you see that?
How much was it? 70. I can't remember the odds
7
again.
to 2. 7 to 2.
That's what it was. I bet your odds. Billy's a big gambler, eh?
So, right on, guys. Well, that was a great conversation. We're going to move it into the value of the week. Let's see what we want to. We're going to kick it off, I think, with a nominee here. Let's see. Where is that? Oh, at the bottom. There we go. It's a little bit of a long clip, but here's one from the Rickster.
Was he what you thought he was going to be in the ring, Mayweather?
I obviously went there thinking I was going to beat him, because I mean he fought Castillo, the first fight against Castillo. I thought Castillo might have nicked it. And then the second fight, Floyd won, and then I saw Floyd fight Marcus Maidana, who is a pressure fighter. So he's not. I'm not a big as puncher as Marcus Maidana, but I think in speed, ability, footwork, engine, like that. So I thought to myself, well, if Maidana's, only got beat by him on a split, I think, I've got the tools to do this, and as long as I get close enough, because I mean, I wasn't going to beat him on anything else, Simon, and that's totally honest, isn't it? You know what I mean? And right from the start, I could see that I was in with a different different level of fighter.
Getting his years, fights, all sorts of things mixed up is the Rickster there, Andy.
Yeah, move on, mate. Ricky's a good part of my boxing youth as well, mate. Growing up, he took some flush shots. Makes a good beer. Maybe I had a few Guinnesses. I don't know at the time.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
got
mate.
confused with Castillo, hasn't he?
Aye, see, I'll never forget that time he took that body shot off Sinchenko. I'm like, he's going to get up, eh? And I think the crowd knew he wasn't going to get up, so they started kind of like cheering, willing him, shouting on him to get up. He just couldn't do it, could he? It was a hell of a way to go,
that was very sad. He was so left hook happy. He just had to throw some lead rights, and he would have caught Sinchenko totally off guard. Aye.
Did you get the wife, Rob? Did you drop her off? No problem.
Yeah, but I just hope they don't find her now.
Pulling for you, buddy. Let's see here. You're a little bit dim on the volume. Let's see if you're closer. I don't know what's going on, but let's see here. We got one here from Karis Arningsall said, "I didn't realize you could be counted if you hadn't actually hit the canvas." Well, now you know. Now you know.
I'm glad I didn't follow some of these boxers actually on Twitter anymore. Or I'm glad I didn't really fucking be on Twitter much these days. Actually, fucking hell.
Maybe you do have a life, Andy. Maybe
I do.
Okay, tell life yourself.
See here. I'm sorry. I gotta apologize, Jason. You sent me a video. I couldn't get it uploaded. It was just too big. I couldn't get it from my phone to the computers. But just a reference, here's one for you. John Henry when he headbutts a kid. Got our friend John Fury finding the smallest Ukrainian he could and headbutting him at the amidst all the fight festivities, and somehow he was the one who was cut open.
So yeah, John and his big fat head are getting a nomination.
Pure fighting man. Pure fighting man. I'll tell you what, see, it was see when Tyson saw him, man, he's like, Tyson was actually visibly like, what the fuck is that?
It
What's happened
takes
to
a
your head,
lot
you
to
silly?
it takes a lot to embarrass Tyson Fury.
He's like,
It
he
takes
says,
a
what's
lot.
happened to your head, you silly cunt? And he's like, he's just literally standing there like laughing away. You sound like it's some sort of badge of honour. You picked out the weirdest dude you could see, mate, and fucking headbutted him. The wee guy was just standing there.
He treats life like he's in a pub fight constantly. I
forget his name is.
If they give you a big indicator,
Stanislav Stemchuk.
Stanislav, that's what he was getting his interviews and that. He was fucking
getting pictures of Ryan Garcia and that he's having a ball over there. Fucking, what you call it? It says a lot though about the money at play over there when that's been swept under the rug. Like, I'm not walking over to Saudi Arabia and headbutting nobody. I'll tell you that much. I'm fucking getting away with it. So I don't know. He can consider himself lucky
50 lashes
in that situation. Honest to God, though, like, you know, I suppose it's been overkill with it this week. Everybody's had their say and everybody knows it's wrong and all. But what the fuck is he at, man? What is he at there? Like, imagine bringing that, and like, that's the kind of fucking shit he brings with him to the fight. Like, that was a disgrace. Absolute disgrace.
Carol Froch was quality. Matty, you need to go and watch Carol Froch's YouTube channel, mate, right? Shout out to Carol Froch. He did a video on John Fury, man. He just ripped them to fucking bits, man. He even quotes Porky Ross sometimes.
He's been lifting Porky Ross.
He has.
He's been lifting Porky
He's
Ross.
been dropping some Porky lines on there, like, I'm telling you, it's fucking quality.
Here, it's a good job the fight was as good as it was because there wasn't any real, you know, if there had been controversy over the scoring, it would have accentuated just the sort of bad taste that how the week started off with that headbutt.
I was afraid it was going to devolve into like what happened at the end of the Khabib McGregor fight when all the Chechens and the Irish were getting into it in the crowd, jumping in and punching each other. It was intense. I was honestly
the Irish were, don't worry, Ed, we're getting into it all right. We're getting into it, getting their heads fucking put through the ground. All the fucking boys were all over there on the beer for fucking 6 days trying to find Russian wrestlers. Fuck off, will you? Boys were getting flung around like deck chairs out there.
Fucking Khabib came out that octagon like a fucking eagle, man. Started chasing cunts out of fucking ringside.
He's a fucking bad man. Anyways, Nathan Cleverly showing himself off here, and he's urged to return. Looks in tremendous shape at 37, and he says, "No thanks, I'm too busy having sex." So there you go.
He's found a church. He's found a church that specializes in it.
I think that sounds like a cult, Dom.
His IG is funny as anything, by the way. I mean, he's living the dream, that one. Like, he's like you, Matty, stoned all the time, having the ball of his life, mate.
Yeah, he's stoned. But he's like, there's this whole anti-abortion thing going on at the same time too. He's too intense, man. Too intense on that shit. Let's see. Our good old buddy Lou
it's going to bring
DiBella.
up a lot of fucking intense thoughts. You know what I mean? It's going to start giving stuff a lot of deep consideration in these moments.
There you go.
Nathan Cleverly alone.
Yeah, all I can think of is, fuck, I wish somebody had aborted me. Anyways, Lou DiBella says, I've never cared for
that's too easy for me. I'm going to let you walk with that
Shut
one.
up. I've never cared for Kovalev. Always thought he was a bad guy. I'm sort of enjoying watching him getting his ass kicked.
Ooh, Uncle Lou's gone fucking. That's just missing a few fucks on that one by with Uncle Lou, but he's must be melting a little bit there.
Yeah,
Captain Current Affairs, isn't he? It's fucking kind of well documented. It's not a surprise to anyone, is it? Kovalev might be a bit of an asshole. I'm not telling him though.
I seen Kovalev's missus on IG was fucking hyperventilating last night.
You tell him, Rob, and I'll be right behind you.
Well, and it looks like Rocky Fielding has found himself a new buddy. Let's see here. Him and Ryan Garcia spotted hanging out on a boat somewhere, and he says, "Big bender pending." I have. There's a lot of things he can mean by that one. I guess we could address it. I'm wondering how they met. Do you think they met in Prince Andrew Anonymous Club or something, Rob?
Maybe they got a donkey club or something like that. You never know.
It's an unlikely pairing, isn't it? Like, do you think Ryan Garcia knows who Rocky Fielding is, or he just thinks he's some lad getting a photo with him?
He knows who he is now.
I think they're on a boat together. Like they're hanging out, like in that Lonely Island or whatever group. I'm on a boat, motherfucker. You know.
Stevie G probably introduced them last night.
I tell you
Maybe
what,
Ryan
there
Garcia
was
is
fucking
taking the boat
tons
to
of them there
Epstein's
last
Island to try and get to the bottom of shit. I think maybe that's what he might be doing.
No, there's a lot going on here, and I honestly don't want to know anymore. Do you guys want to know anymore? Some things just better left unsaid, I guess. Let's see here.
Fucking Ronaldo to Rocky Fielding in one night. He's having some time of his life, isn't he, Ryan Garcia? Fucking hell.
YOLO, Rob. YOLO.
Fuck's sake.
Our good old buddy Mauricio Suleiman says he just finished the second podcast. I'm looking for a name for it. Any ideas?
Wanker.
We be crooks.
Uncle Mo's I don't know, Uncle Mo's boxing chat or something like that.
Just what the world needs, another fucking podcast.
As you said to me, Rob, during the week, you're not listening to it unless the Hurry guy's on it.
Here, Matt, I actually came across Ted DiBiase's podcast the other day. I don't know how I came across it, but anyway, I loved his title of his podcast. Everybody's got a pod.
I love it.
Oh man. Oh, that's a great callback. Oh, love the $1 Million Man. That was from the heyday. Good old Mauricio. Well, if you can think of a good name for his podcast, why don't you go ahead and send it to him? He wants all of your input, people.
Please tell me you've got his picture of him looking crestfallen, looking at Tyson Fury as that result gets.
I don't think I have it, sir. I don't.
Shit.
Let's see here. Got the Gad here, hanging out some people in his shorty shorts. Looks like Gad needs to hit up leg day there. What do you think?
He skipped leg day there, aye. So's Chisora looks it as well, man. He looks like he's on fucking prosthetics there, actually.
I was listening to Bunce interviewing Chisora for the 5 Live pod after the fight, and Bunce signed off the interview saying, we've just heard from our 5 Guys ambassador, Derek Chisora. Thanks for that, Derek.
Yeah, David Hay was loving that result last night, was he not? Holy shit, he was fucking.
He got it right for once.
Yeah.
Aye. That's right.
The guy looks like he's fucking working from home during COVID times there, don't he? He has the fucking button-up shirt for the Zoom meeting at 10 a.m., but he's got his fucking boxers on underneath it. Like, fuck that.
I've got some stellar nominations for the God here. I'm going to play them here, Matty, because you may not have been able to cut them, but this was at the start of the week, so
okay.
I'll play them here, and hopefully they'll come through. Hold on.
Don't bring that
content. I'm the fucking down boy.
This is why Usyk is so high in the pound-for-pound list, the mythical pound-for-pound list in many people's eyes. He belongs in the top 5 with Terence Crawford, Saul Canelo Alvarez, Noya Inoue, and perhaps who else am I putting? If you looked...
You get that one?
Turn up a wee bit, mate. Turn up a wee bit if you can, mate, and closer to your mic.
It was nice to take a trip around the world with Gad. I heard it. What's the next one?
I heard it. It's just for the listeners, though, just in case they're listening in the car, for example. It might be too low for them to hear it.
Bear with me.
If you look,
that's better.
This is why Usyk is so high in the pound-for-pound list, the mythical pound-for-pound list in many people's eyes. He belongs in the top 5 with Terence Crawford, Saul Canelo Alvarez, Noya Inoue, and perhaps who?
I've got a better one. I've got an even better one. He was coming out with some. He was coming out with some rare stuff. This is the best one.
This is going to be an incredible week of history for boxing because the undisputed heavyweight title is big tribally, philosophically, historically, in terms of neurotribes. These are the great gladiators from the olden times.
What? Let's keep the Gad train rolling. Hold on, there's a few videos here.
Take my eyes off everywhere. There's lights flashing, boxes flying about everywhere. Gareth A. Davis is dancing, vibing. What do you make of Tyson Fury giving Usyk credit?
He reminds me of this Vice episode I watched about aging rager drug addicts in the UK. Anyhow, I'm not saying he's on drugs or anything. He just reminded me of those people. Hold on, one more.
It just feels so big. It feels enormous.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm talking about.
as was the length of this GAD nomination, but it was quite the string right there of nominations for the GAD.
I've got this is not from the God, but from Spencer Oliver. This one, in light of how the fight actually panned out last night, this one was made to look even more ridiculous than it already was. Here we go.
On him, exactly. And Usyk is one of those guys that I think you can quickly steal their soul from. But as in, on him, exactly. And Usyk is one of those guys that I think you can quickly steal their soul from. But as in,
Alexander quickly steal his soul, Usyk.
Fuck me. Holy shit!
He just
That's
say
like
anything at this stage, wouldn't he?
Johnny
Like,
Nelson. That's
straight.
like Johnny Nelson Usyk's an average southpaw, man. What the fuck?
What possible
what are
evidence?
they watching? What are they watching by the way? Come out with that
He's
statement.
still bitter over that take, isn't he, that he gave about AJ and Usyk after the second Usyk fight, where everyone was just sticking about for being an AJ cheerleader. Like,
these people, they're getting paid. They're getting paid to say this stuff. Like,
Dom, I want you to send me that clip, mate. I want receipts. I'm keeping that. Like, I'm receipting that one.
Receipts.
I want receipts.
As Steve said, there's no evidence can possibly be adduced to support a statement like that.
Look, Spencer Oliver is involved in the sport. Again, this is what I'm saying, right? People saying, "Oh, you've never boxed, you're not allowed an opinion." I have said, and you guys have said that, and we've discussed it for long enough that Usyk and that crowd have been, and the mentality is just a different level. And you've got fucking this guys who've been in the sport, ex-European champions, saying, "Well, he's not got the mentality. He could unravel if you put the heat on him." Fuck me, man. It's fucking. What is he watching to come out with that?
as if we haven't seen Usyk, someone put the heat on Usyk before, like, and him come through it fucking fairly easily. Anyway, look, I don't think anyone really listens to them guys. Like, they're on, like, mainstream stuff, aren't they? Like Talk Sport and Sky, and like nobody really gives a fuck about be listening and putting any stock in their shit, really. That do they? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's just like they're controlling the narrative right through like press week and that, really kind of pumping it. It's just everybody saw it.
In fairness to your man Simon Jordan, I think he got too fucking into the boxing thing a little bit. Like he could have been maybe stayed in his lane and commentated from the side, where it's like, yeah, like he's very kind of he's a casual, but if somebody says something like that in front of him, he will call him out on it. Like, I don't know where fucking Spencer's giving that interview, but that's like, what's giving you the fucking impression Usyk is going to fold under pressure so easily like that? Like,
Spencer was
everybody else was saying it was nip and tuck. Like,
Oliver, he's on Talk Sport quite regularly, Rob, and actually, it was interesting. One of the few people who called the fight right beforehand was Duke McKenzie, and about 2 weeks ago, Oliver was interviewing Duke McKenzie, and McKenzie actually said he was almost absolutely spot on. He said he could see Usyk stopping Fury inside 10 rounds. And he was almost right. And when he said it, Spencer Oliver was just, you could see, like there's a moment of shock whenever they hear something, they hear someone actually telling the truth as they say it, without any fear of the repercussions. They're also
in the mainstream British boxing media is a lot of it is like back the British guy, like, isn't it? Under, you know what I mean? Fucking back him, make him the favourite, like, and don't ever really give the fucking outsider a chance, like. But anyone that knows the boxing kind of thought it was a 50-50 fight going into it. I think, like, I don't think many people could split them definitively one way or the other. But here it's for bad. I wouldn't even listen to that. Like, I just tune out. Exactly.
All right. Let's see here. Let's moving on. Would it be a Bellew of the Week without Tony? I don't think so. Tony Bellew calls for a lifetime ban of Ryan Garcia. Says, I always believe that any fighter failing because of performance-enhancing drugs deserves a lifetime ban. This is not a nasal spray. It's a performance drug. This is a steroid. It's dangerous. Steroid abuse and performance drugs. I'm harsh. You should be banned for life. Whether you're my mate or not, if you fail for performance-enhancing drugs, you should be banned for life. People will say, well, you back Conor Benn. Was Conor Benn trying to get pregnant?
Yeah, Tony, completely missing the point, yeah.
What?
Exactly, man.
Okay. Let's see here. We got one from press conference. Blair
Oh
the
my God,
Claire,
that was amazing.
Blair the Flair Cobbs has created Adrian Broner puppet, which he has brought there to intimidate AV or fuck with him, getting his head.
Oh, the one in Don King's office was tremendous, man. That was fucking brilliant. That's the one we need to be getting up.
I wish I had the video on here of Adrian Broner talking about how ugly he thought Cobb's girlfriend was. I tried to upload it and I couldn't. It was pretty funny.
Fucking AB, man.
He
Fucking
did invite
Dennis.
her to the after party because he said that
She's
girls
so
on
good.
girls is the best way forward. That's something like that.
And Don
But
King's
it was
like that.
fucking hilarious when your
Don
man,
King's in the
Don
background,
King,
like, they
look
got
at
a
that
fucking
picture.
Scooby.
Don King's in the background. Adrian Broner's trying to talk his fucking regurgitated 1,000-time boring ass bullshit, fucking pre-fight nonsense, and Blair Cobbs is doing a Muppet Show puppet impression of him every time he says something. Your man's repeating it. It's fucking amazing. He's like, "That shit ain't work. He a clown," and your man's like, "That shit ain't work. He a clown."
Fucking Don King looks like he just shit himself out there. He needs to get back to his dementia home. Fuck me.
Looks like the most fucked up episode of Sesame Street ever.
Oh man, let's see here. We got a couple for Eddie Hearn here. I like to call this picture Eddie Giuliani.
That was tremendous, by the way.
Whoever's on that has done a good job there.
I don't care if it's fake. I'm believing that to be real. I'm going to make that real. Actually, I don't care if it's fake. Everybody can pull that game, by the way.
Then we got one here. Eddie showing off them muscles.
That's what I'm talking about, Edward.
And then
get that airbrushing in there.
Is he ripping his t-shirt, or is that just fucking
that Ryan
Craig
Neal?
Nicholson after walking in behind him? Look at the eyes.
The quality work here. Quality work here. Who
Ryan
did
Neal,
this,
the
Dom?
menace.
Was this you that did this?
Oh, I think that was Ryan Deal.
That's
Ryan
Neal's
Deal.
work.
God
Look at
love him. God love him.
Look at AJ, man. That's fucking tremendous. Dave Allen.
You'd like to save that. You'd like to save that one for like your computer background, but then people would ask questions. It's just too niche. Too niche.
Very clear. You've been at the Devonish. Very clear, mate.
Let's see here. We got our boy Rick Glazer popping in there as well. Let's see here. Paco says, doesn't your boy Oscar owe El Chapo a couple million to El Chapo for the cocaine crack? Rick Glazer says, take that ridiculous comment down or you will be blocked. What a threat.
Fucking glassed.
I don't know if
He
this...
the lead of this thread was Rick Glazer saying that Al Heyman has disappeared and nobody's heard from him in about 2 years, and that he has all Floyd Mayweather's money. And then everyone was like, well, if that's the case, why the fucking Tank just make a fight on PBC? He was like, that was done through PBC executives. And then your man's like, don't your boy Oscar owe a couple of million to El Chapo? And that's when he responded with that. Like, but yeah, he's made out that Uncle Al has disappeared with the bank, and that's why Floyd is over in Dubai and he can't get out. Which would be fucking amazing if it was true.
Quality. Oh yeah, that's all we need is Floyd Mayweather in the real life version of a Kurt Russell movie.
As a nomination for Floyd, actually, I don't have the screenshot, Matty, but he was sort of promoting rumors that Tank against Frank Martin had been kiboshed because of arguments over rehydration clauses, and I think Tank was sort of hitting back at him on Instagram or something, but Floyd
Didn't the WB, whoever sanctioned it, come in and say no? We're thinking about that for another fight. And...
There was a whole sort of clusterfuck about the rehydration. It was some of the guys, the boxing Twitter journalists, got hold of what was going on, and I think basically what looked like to have been the case was that the WBA came under pressure from Tank Davis's side to insist on like a some sort of rehydration clause, and then when word got out to the public domain, they quickly backtracked. When it was looking clear that they were only introducing this rehydration clause at the behest of Tank Davis. So it's hard to think of anything that sort of reveals more clearly how sort of pathetic and supine the sanction orgs are than that. But
that's what they do.
The last thing Tank needs is for that fight to fall through, by the way.
No shit. He needs to stay active. Let's see.
I think Floyd said it was cancelled and he spelled it wrong as well. That was kind of funny, wasn't it?
Well, he actually, if you look at it, Rob, he actually spelled it right by American English. One L by American English. I say
rude a joke anyway, Dominic. Right?
So Cut him some slack.
Speaking of the sanctioning bodies, I don't know if this is funny. I just think it's sad. The IBF have now officially ordered Canelo Alvarez to defend his undisputed WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO super middleweight world titles versus William Skull next. Parties have 28 days to agree to deal.
Do you know who was annoyed about this, Marty?
Canelo?
His Excellency.
I can see that.
His Excellency was none too pleased with this.
William Skull.
Who the fuck is William Skull?
He's a German fighter, I'm sure.
Darryl Peoples of the ABF makes sure that his next trip to Saudi he doesn't come back with a severed hand or something.
Big Billy Skull for Mexican Independence Day. That's the fight we all want to see. What the fuck, man? William Skull, will you fuck off, IBF?
Have him in the Azteca, Rob, like Greg Hogan and Shava.
They're supposed to fucking strip the heavyweight title now, aren't they? Next, like them.
2 weeks. Usyk's going to lose the belt in 2 weeks.
That's and so the rematch won't be for all the belts. Like, what's the point in the rematch then? Like,
I don't think we all know.
I don't think I've never since Fury is actually that fussed about all 4 belts. It's more now.
Fury just more money out of his purse he has to give out.
Fury, and Fury Usyk said it's developed more into it's worth a lot more now than all the baubles. It's the championship with each other in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want it to be for all the belts. So is anybody thinking about that? That's fucking, do you know what I mean?
Nobody cares about Rob. What the fuck? Nobody cares about Rob. That's messed up.
The beast from the southeast likes that red and gold ABF New Jersey bubble.
They're fucking mandating everything. The IBF. We want to fucking relax. Like, chill the fuck out. Who do we need fighting for that IBF title? Hrgovic. Fuck off. Like.
Yeah.
Hrgovic.
Well,
you get no stop, Hrgovic.
Got a couple of videos left here, and then I'll have see what you guys have up for yourselves there. I'd like to thank Dominic and Jay from the Nutters group for helping me compile all of these Value of the Weeks. I appreciate very much. Here's another video that I have titled "Man on Cocaine."
See this Tyson Fury ever again. So what that means is, watch the devastation. Watch what he does to Usyk. It'll be like man versus boy. I promise you. He's a serious Tyson Fury at the minute. A serious Tyson Fury.
Because we've seen him lighter and we've seen him heavier. Is this the best weight for Tyson Fury where we... Not necessarily the best Tyson Fury, but the best Tyson Fury to beat Alexander Usyk?
Definitely. I mean, people say what's changed in camp for the last 3 years. Me. I'm not being big-headed. It is. I've come in and I've said, right, this is what we're going to do. And it's nice because he's trusted me. He trusts me with everything. You know, to have someone like Tyson to trust me with everything that goes in his mouth, he won't have any more.
Who is that guy?
That's Greg.
Greg nutritionist.
He works with Dominic Engel fighters, Andy, in the Engel gym. He was Brooks' nutritionist, and worked with Billy Joe Saunders when Saunders was with the Engel gym. He basically the Engel's go-to guy.
He's not with a nutritionist anymore, by the way. Billy Joe,
You gotta hope he's a nutritionist because he said he's responsible for everything that goes in Tyson's mouth. So that's the best outcome.
Well, to be honest, he seems like a very modest man, so I'd imagine so.
Eyes wide open. He was into the whole thing very much.
He sounds like the Ben Davison of food, doesn't he?
And we love everybody over at the at ProBox, especially because, like us, you give us money, we'll basically say whatever you put up in a super chat.
Fucking right.
So our good friend Damo, Captain Casual, has struck again.
So, Chris, when you look at this fight, we have another Captain Casual said, not sure I've seen such balls in the ring since the post-show party at Devonish. Don't know exactly what that means. I don't care. My point is, this fight will go down. Chris,
take it as you will.
Yeah, right. Take it as you will. The way that you saw this fight, technique, balls. What's going to stand out to you more when you think about this fight and the entertainment value and what it brought? Technique, balls. What's the judgment to you?
First of all, I'm going to hang my hat on the fact that I don't know what that means.
Thank you. We all don't.
Well, his name's Captain Casual, so I feel like if anything, the casuals always can even the casuals can understand it's balls, right? It's
right.
It's nuts and guts.
It was easily understandable.
The difference with casuals and hardcores is the IQ. The hardcores will understand how a cerebral a fight is being fought, but nuts and guts, balls to the wall, even the casuals can understand. And I feel like this fight can be appreciated by both the casuals and the hardcores for that reason.
I'm telling you right now, man, the Yanks don't do
Amazing.
banter like us, like, do they?
Oh, fucking amazing that is. I don't quite know what that means, Chris Algieri. I'm pretty sure. Zippity doo
And
He says he don't know what the fuck.
and you see, like, Algieri's sitting there, like, when he's listening to it, he's sitting there like a resting dick face, but he's like listening to it. He's like, what?
He knows something.
Paulie decides to fucking go. I think even the casual guys know that. It's talking about the Devonish. It means balls in the ring, guys. Big balls. Where's your balls, guys? Where's your balls at the Devonish?
Here, so I don't know who this is from. I'll read it out,
That's
Matty.
brilliant, man. Oh,
I don't know if
play,
anyone
Captain
remembers at the workout, at the open workout on Tuesday, or maybe the final presser. People were commenting about the redness around Fury's eyes, and so someone I don't know who this is from, but anyway, I'll read it out. One thing that no one is talking about, but is a concern I have, is the tissue around Tyson Fury's eyes looked a bit red or even bruised when he was interviewed at the Grand Arrivals the other day. Almost like he'd had front row seats at a show at the Devonish. I don't know who that was from, but whoever is from.
Oh God.
This is gonna be a standing joke now for a bit until they get fucked off with that. Like, but
you really want to fucking put Paulie into meltdown? Someone
show your
fucking
balls at
super
the
chat
Devonish,
him.
Paulie.
Someone super chat him and say, Conor McGregor showed me that sparring footage and he beats your ass. You fucking have a meltdown on the
Yeah, you put $5 in a super chat. They'll say it.
Pretty clear and obvious, guys. Pretty clear and obvious, Chris Algieri. We're being attacked by trolls. Okay, you guys don't get pussy. Okay, don't brag about my side piece.
Broner trolling him was something glorious, like.
Well, that's everything everyone has submitted. I gotta say, the one thing I do love about being in the host role is the fact that I don't have to put up anything myself. Andy, what are you got any nominations?
I've got a few, mate. One for Buffer. I think he called the Usyk's weight as 233. I think it was actually 223. I think it was officially. So Buffer just, oh man,
washed.
Oh, washed, mate. Beyond washed. Like, it's just fucking done.
Steve was saying me after Buffer announced the result. Steve didn't believe that the scores were right.
He's probably triple checking that one. Like, you're probably worried.
He's had some fucking career Buffer all the same. He's around fucking long as Lee Majors. Like, I feel like they were in their prime at the same time, and the Fall Guys a long time ago. And Buffer's still fucking here reading out fucking weights wrong.
He turns 80 in November. He turns 80.
Buffer's prime was Tyson Spinks in June '88, and he was calling out Donald Trump at the convention center. He hasn't. I think it's an understatement to say that he hasn't aged as well as Jimmy Lennon.
I seen one. My cousin was right into he's a proper casual, right? But he only turns up for the big fights, and he was texting me a picture of Usyk with that fucking hat he had on last night, and he says that hat's made out of Russian army conscript. I thought that was quality for his fucking standards. To be fair, I don't know if he stole it. To be fair, but to be honest.
By the way, on that, everyone who's fucking don't watch boxing, leave me the fuck alone when the boxing fight comes on. Will you? You fuck off, will you? I don't want to fucking answer WhatsApps the best of the times. I don't fucking break down your bets on your fucking degenerate gambling fucking accumulators. Fuck off, all you.
One for Fury. One for Fury for his snide bollocks after the fight with the geopolitics. He only got a decision because of the war. You know, just throw that one in there as well.
I was shocking.
That was disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was.
I think he was concussed though. Like he thought it was January fucking 2 seconds.
That's right. He said, you know, he was obviously in a bad way after that 9th round. How he made it through to the end of the fight. You know, you could probably say even Usyk's interview with that Ade Oladipo for the zone. There wasn't, you know, it was a pretty poor interview. Like, there was nothing you could glean from him. It would have been best to let both guys just get to the hospital or whatever they needed to go to, and there was plenty for all the respective punditry teams to dissect. There was, as was said, there was so much in the fight. There was plenty to be talking about.
Well, that's my next point, because the punditry team is also up for the next vote, because Todd Grisham, right? I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I thought I love these low key shithousing. So see when all the big stars appeared, and that, you know, the league commentator says, and there he is, he's appeared, and that type of stuff. So anyway, Ryan Garcia just appeared, ladies and gentlemen. Still looking for that B sample. I thought that was fucking brilliant. That was a golden clicking moment, that one. Like, oh, it was brilliant. Uncle Mo looking at Tyson or crestfallen. What else we got? Oh, aye. True Geordie was going fucking bananas last night when Fury got dropped, man. I mean, bananas.
All
He was
right.
calling him a bastard, wasn't he? He was like, "Get that bastard, get him."
I need to go back and watch it, but he was fucking losing his shit.
Well, they had
He'd
a
been waiting
falling out,
months
didn't
for
he?
that.
Fury,
did.
Fury. He was interviewing Fury, and Fury fucking called him a shithouse and a prick, and said, "I'll never do an interview with you again," and walked out midway because he didn't like the line of questioning. He was replaying during the week some of his interviews with John Fury when he was talking about being at rock bottom, and said, "What was rock bottom like for you, John?" He was like, "Oh, at the worst, it was 2 bottles of whiskey a night, 3 brasses, and if there's some drugs, I'll have them as well."
Rob, do your look me in the eye so I can gauge it. God.
Oh, what am I, a performing monkey? No, I'm only joking.
No, it has to be spontaneous for proper effect. It has to be spontaneous.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be.
I've got a great nomination here that someone's just sent to me. So Lennox put out a tweet last night when the result was announced. He says, "Welcome to the club at Usyk, #undisputed." And this was quote tweeted by none other than the GOAT herself. He says,
Thanks, guys. I was in here waiting for you.
She's projecting.
2-time undisputed club! ! Actually,
on her, there's a good one for Ryan Garcia. Was DMing her during the week saying, "Let's have a baby together." And she was like, "Ryan, why are you saying this?" And all. He was like, "I'm just saying though. I'm one of the greatest of all time. You're the greatest female of all time. We'd make a superhuman baby and all. Let's have a baby together." So she starts fucking publishing the screenshots to the fucking mouthpiece, putting his business in the street, and then they got on a Twitter Spaces with each other, and the quote was like, "Don't y'all know I'm engaged?" And Ryan was like, "Oh, my bad," to the homie. He's a fucking legend, man. I don't give a fuck if he's hot or not. But the sport needs him. Like, he's like, "My bad to the homie. I didn't know that." And all fucking, I was just playing around. Clarissa, oh, fucking amazing, man. He's DMing Clarissa Shields, telling her that he wants to have a baby with her for the wind up. What a fucking top man.
King Ray,
Ryan Garcia.
He's a step up from Sonny Edwards, I suppose. But
yeah, who's she gonna choose to go on a date with there? Ryan Garcia and Sonny, I wonder. She's fucking, and then it's obviously been a fucking roller coaster weekend for Ryan Garcia. He's hung out with Neymar, Ronaldo, Anthony Joshua, and Rocky Fielding. How's he got over there, Rocky Fielding? Who's fucking let him in there? Like, fuck's sake.
Doesn't he live in UAE or something?
Does he? Yeah.
I think he was one of the people that moved over there.
I think that's right. I think he's actually, you're right, Matty. I think he's helping out. The Saudis have sort of employed like the likes of Joe Gallagher and a lot of different people to sort of to run their boxing operations. There's a lot of UK personnel doing stuff out there. I don't know much more than that, but there was actually someone sent me a shot actually of Neymar meeting King Ray.
Why haven't they asked you to come over there and become Kelly El Sheik, Rob? What the hell?
I don't know, but as soon as I get the invite, I'm over there, man. I'd be me and Rocky Fielding on the boat.
Do you have any nominations yourself this week, Rob?
No, Ryan trying to get into fucking Clarissa Shields' DM to fucking have a baby with her is pretty good. Like,
that's a good one.
Just fucking John Fury, man. Like, just fucking, I like Tyson Fury. I always like Tyson Fury as a fighter. As personas, I tend to try not to buy into most fighters' personas unless they're total assholes. So I didn't really have a horse in the race. Like, I couldn't say like that I was fucking happy that Fury lost or whatever. But credit to Usyk. But if anyone was going to beat him and he deserved to get beaten off the fucking behavior of the outlet, like that was just fucking disgraceful. Like, disgraceful. So yeah, kind of fucking John Fury has to be the winner this week, I think, doesn't he?
I saw a joke. Someone said it. I don't know who said it, but they're just saying John Fury headbutted the Ukrainian because he refused to let him tarmac his driveway.
Fuck's sake,
that's fucked up. I'm going to throw one in here, and I actually think here when we do our little reboot, I think I'm going to change this to a new little short in the week and call it the Adelaide Bird Award for Excellence in Refereeing. But my nominee this week is going to be Judge Benoit Roussel, who scored the Navarrete-Baranchik fight 116-112 for Navarrete. I don't know what 8 rounds there were to give the guy in that fight, but Benoit found him.
Plus the judge that Metcalf in the Fury fight.
Which how do you have it?
He was the one that scored it for Fury. WBC judge.
Yeah, he had 7 rounds to 5 for Fury.
Son of a bitch. Yeah, that's a little bit of a tough push on that one, but I guess they are entitled to their opinion. Let's see here. So we have those, and then we kicked it off with Ricky thinking that Marcos Madonna fought Floyd before him. We had Damos striking at the Devonish on Pro Box. We had the nutritionist who was on something talking about why he thought Tyson Fury would win. We had Gad in his numerous entries. I don't even know what one to pull up. Let's do the video.
Take our eyes off everywhere. There's lights flashing, boxes flying about everywhere. Gareth A. Davis is dancing, vibing. What do you make of Tyson Fury giving Usyk credit?
Fuck yeah.
He's put that move on the dance floor of Vegas at fucking 3 in the morning a couple of times, hasn't he?
This is a solid week. Solid week. Like
vibing. What does vibing mean?
Vibe. Yeah, I don't know. Feeling the music, I guess.
He's probably swallowing some ectos, man. He's just fucking. You know what I'm saying? He's got the head moving, the jaws moving. You know what I'm saying?
More head movement than Tyson Fury last night. That was one thing, by the way. Fury's head movement was absent last night. God was taking up all the bandwidth on head movement in Saudi Arabia.
Let's see. We had the IBF making everybody very, very sad. Rick Glazer getting in his usual once-a-week offering of telling someone they're going to be blocked. You had Eddie showing off his muscles and making his appearance on Magic Mike. And also with his hair. Blair Cobb with the Adrian Broner puppet. Bellew and his rant on banning Ryan Garcia. Let's see here. We had Mauricio Suleiman wanting us to name his podcast. We have Ryan and Rocky on a boat. DeBella throwing shade at our good friend Sergey, cleverly talking how much more he likes to bone than fight. Big John and all of his adventures. And Kara Sarding Saul learning the rules of boxing as she goes along. Andy,
it's
who are
solid,
you going
mate.
for this week?
It's a solid week. I mean, I was really thinking about John Fury. Really was.
I don't want to dignify John Fury.
I know.
Demean the value of the week by giving it to him.
I'm going to get to the GAD for the one that Dominic played. I had to go and Google what neurotribes means. And I didn't even want to mention it in case I'm wrong on the pod. So
the tribal and philosophical significance of the undisputed heavyweight title.
Aye, but what does neurotribe stand for? Which we'll get on another. It's time for bed.
It's the second scariest Neuralink fucking that's been floated this week. Let me tell you.
It's the fucking GAD for me.
Rob, who are you taking?
I'm not taking the fucking Neuralink anyway, right? I'm not having anyone fucking planting a chip in my brain and start reading my thoughts. I'm going to push back on that immediately. I'd say Tony Bellew was actually pretty good in his response to John Fury when he said, nobody's going to headbutt me, mates. I'll fear no man alive. He's got 2 arms and 2 legs like me, mates. If he tries to headbutt me, it's going to happen. And he said, unless he's got Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and he can throw me on the ground and do all that. Other than that, they're getting knocked out, mates. So no one's going to headbutt me. That was pretty good. And then obviously Ryan Garcia then going for the quote, like shooting a shot.
Okay.
Greatness.
Dom, who are you going for?
I'm tempted to go for that Greg Marriott, the nutritionist guy.
It's good as well. Like
Spencer Oliver saying Usyk's the guy that you can steal his soul. That was a corker. I think I'll just go with
that nutritionist. I forgot about him actually.
I'm going to go for the nutritionist. That was outrageous.
Send me that one. I want that one as well. Send me that one as well.
I'll send you that one.
Yeah.
Greg Marriott.
These other people get it all the time. Let's spread the love around.
Yeah, God's had too many.
Yeah, he's got plenty.
Right, okay, let's go for the nutritionist. I'm going to go for the nutritionist. I'm going to go for him.
Here we go. One more time for the people out in front.
See this Tyson Fury ever again. So what that means is, watch the devastation. Watch what he does to Usyk. It'll be like man versus boy. I promise you. He's a serious Tyson Fury at the minute. A serious Tyson Fury.
Because we've seen him lighter and we've seen him heavier. Is this the best weight for Tyson Fury where we... Not necessarily the best Tyson Fury, but the best Tyson Fury to beat Alexander Usyk?
Definitely. I mean, people say what's changed in camp for the last 3 years. Me. I'm not being big-headed. It is. I've come in and I've said, right, this is what we're going to do. And it's nice because he's trusted me. He trusts me with everything. You know, to have someone like Tyson to trust me with everything that goes in his mouth, he won't have any more.
Yeah, that's gold. That's fucking gold.
All right, well, anonymous
like
nutritionist. Anonymous nutritionist, you are this week's winner of the value of the week. Congratulations. We'd also like to thank Kaiser Koba for throwing us 20 pounds. Slappy Gilmore for throwing us 20 pounds. And Ray for throwing us $11.99. Very much appreciated. Very generous today.
See that? Wellington fucks off and the cash starts flowing in there. See that?
We got all sorts of compliments in there today. Wellington was holding us back.
He tells me he still controls the purse strings despite his attempts to give them over to Matty. So
I told him we just got to get together on a Monday. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
Hey, David here.
But I'd like to thank Andy, Rob Kelly, Dominic, Dez, and Donnie Baseball for joining us today. It was a great episode. It was a long episode, and we are going to see you back here next week, and we will be reviewing Taylor versus Catterall and previewing the 5-on-5. June is fast approaching.
Oh, porn videos now, is it?
That's what I was thinking. What kind of what have we sunk to? I'm here for it.
Steve's away. We can do what we want to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, let
Shackles
your imagination flow.
Shackles are off.
You folks have yourselves a great week ahead, and we will see you next week on the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse.
Oh, fighting, man!
We'll never forget.
Yeah, let's get that.
Go to move! We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking Steltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. I
will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love boxing sounds. Simple as that.